Naruto, man, I'm going to be Hokage. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Naruto, you can call me uncle. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years. I don't know how many people still remember my blue flash name after all this time. In Konoha, on top of the towering wall, a silhouette stands looking at the prosperous village below. Looking from this position, you can see the rock shadow heads carved on the rock wall behind the village. The last one has the youngest face. Where is my poor nephew now? Brush. Namikaze Mirai jumped from the high wall, his body arced in midair, and he fell into the village below. The sun shone on his angular profile point, and that brilliant blonde hair. Who? The ninjas stationed on the wall of Konoha were sweating profusely and chased the figure that jumped into the village in panic. This is Konoha, the leader of the 5 great ninja villages! Exclamation mark. How could a ninja break in so easily and treat their defense as if it were nothing? If the Hokage knew about it, they would be in big trouble. Wait, why does that person look familiar? Looking at the golden hair shining in the sun, one of them looked shocked, and a trace of confusion arose in his heart. After this brief hesitation, the figure switched a few times and disappeared into the buildings of Konoha. It's better to inform the Hokage quickly. If that person really comes back, something big will happen to the village. Thinking of what had happened in the village in the past few years and the man's illustrious reputation, the T couldn't help but shudder. Not good. Something big is going to happen. On the streets of Konoha, there is an endless stream of people coming and going. The shouts of vendors and the sounds of children nestling in their parents' arms and acting coquettishly come together, making it very lively. In such an atmosphere, there is a figure walking alone in the corner of the street. The thin orange top has become yellow and wrinkled after being starched many times. The top pants are also full of dirty marks. The dark yellow cheeks look depressed. Is that the kid? Stay away from him. Don't play with him. Demon Fox. The sounds of curses and contempt pierced into the 3-year-old Naruto's heart like needles, making the light in his blue eyes dim like soaked coals. So many people died in the village, including the Yondaime and his wife, all because of him. Why doesn't this guy die? Malice enveloped Naruto like black tentacles, suffocating and suppressing him, making it impossible to breathe. 3-year-old Naruto walked down the street with his head lowered, without any rebuttal, silently enduring the malice that even an adult could bear. He didn't know why he had to encounter all this, why he had to be reviled by these people. It seemed that he had been suffering from all this since he was born. He was numb. Naruto's step suddenly stopped, and his eyes stayed on a mask hanging on the shop opposite, and the dim eyes suddenly lit up slightly. On the mask, simple red patterns outlined the bright red fox face, and Naruto suddenly felt a desire for this mask. He wants this mask. His immature hands groped in the Harley pocket, only to find a few scattered coins. Uncle, can I use the money to buy that mask? 3-year-old Naruto opened his palms, as if sharing his most precious treasure, and handed them over a few coins, looking towards the middle-aged merchant with longing and hope in his blue eyes. Snap. The hard mask was viciously hit on Naruto's forehead by the vendor, making a snapping sound like a broken egg. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Naruto fell backwards under the unexpected attack and sat heavily on the ground. Stinky Demon Fox, don't come here and dirty my shop. If you want it, I'll give it to you. The red patterned fox mask bounced on the ground a few times and rolled to Naruto's feet. Naruto's eyes were filled with liquid for a moment, and before it could flow out, the gloating curses around him drowned him like a suffocation. This is how you treat the demon fox who allowed him to kill so many villagers. The demon fox and the fox mask really match each other. Did you see that? Don't play with this guy. He's really scary. Naruto, who was only 3 years old, couldn't bear it any longer, and tears rolled down from his eyes. Why do you do this to me? What did I do wrong? He could only ask questions like mosquitoes chirping over and over again. Why did he suffer such unfair treatment? Why do these adults inflict all their malice on him who is only 3 years old? What did he do wrong? But his weak voice was instantly drowned in the gloating scorn surrounding him. These villagers watching the excitement were like vultures smelling the stench of corpses, swarming up and biting Naruto's flesh and blood. The mask lying on the ground was picked up by a big hand, and the dust on it was gently patted away. Then he knelt down and put the mask into Naruto's hand. Naruto stopped crying. He raised his head and stared blankly at the gentle smiling face. Somehow, although he had never met the man in front of him, he felt a special sense of intimacy in his heart. That was something he had never felt before. Namikaze Mirai stood up, and when he turned around, his eyes were already cold. Apologize to him. Apologize? Apologize to this disaster star? What a joke. The merchant narrowed his eyes and looked at Namikaze Mirai with an unkind look. Where did you come from? Why haven't I seen you in the village? Do you have some invisible connection with this demon fox? The surrounding villagers looked at Namikaze Mirai with surprise, and some even whispered and sneered. Namikaze Mirai has been away from the village for too long, and many villagers have forgotten his existence. Even though some villagers thought it looked familiar, they couldn't recall it for a while. I don't like to do it a second time. Several lightning arcs flashed in Namikaze Mirai's blue eyes, and the electromagnetic force moved slightly, compressing the surrounding air, and a terrifying oppression instantly enveloped the street. In the 3 battles, the number of ninjas who died in his hands was even higher than that of Yellow Flash. Private Marcel, forgive me. The vendor who had been so stubborn a second ago immediately gave in and knelt down suddenly, tears streaming down his face and kowtowing like garlic. The unpleasant smell escaped from his crotch, soaking most of his pants. Facing this terrifying pressure, even a chunin who has experienced hundreds of battles cannot bear it, let alone a ninja who is not even a merchant. The eyes of the onlookers were full of horror, and the terrifying oppression also spread to them. Although it was not as strong as what the traders felt, it was far from what they could bear. Naruto, who was sitting on the ground, looked at the back figure with a light in his eyes. The position he was in was the only safe haven in this horrible oppression. This was the first time that someone stood in front of him to protect him from the wind and rain. Who is it? Naruto asked hoarsely with his nose sore. The majestic figure crouched down, with a gentle smile in his blue eyes, and gently stroked his hair. The golden hair shone dazzlingly under the refraction of the Sunday eye. I'm your father's younger brother. You can call me Uncle. Chapter 2. The 3-year period has come. The return of the blue flash. Uncle. Naruto blinked his blue eyes, showing a hint of curiosity and confusion, and tilted his head to look at the smiling Namikaze Mirai. Does he have an uncle? No, he doesn't even know who his parents are. Since birth, he has never seen his parents, let alone his own life experience. As for my father's younger brother, I have never heard of it. Somehow, looking at Namikaze Mirai's blue eyes with a soft smile and the brilliant blonde hair similar to his own, Naruto's lonely heart suddenly felt a tremor. His lips moved, and he made a hoarse, dry sound. Uncle Namikaze Mirai, who was waiting for Naruto's reply, smiled like crescent moons with his eyes. He originally thought that Naruto would be resistant to his uncle's sudden appearance, but unexpectedly, it went surprisingly smoothly. His warm hands kneaded Naruto's hair, twisting his golden strands into his own shape. Uncle, I'm surprised. He likes obedient children the most. Namikaze Mirai took Naruto away, and it wasn't until the two left that the huge feeling of oppression disappeared. The originally silent street suddenly became noisy, and the onlookers looked at each other with shock and disbelief on their faces. The demon fox has an uncle. Did I hear correctly? The demon fox actually has an uncle, or so some villagers shuddered, the fear of Namikaze's future still lingering. Where did this scary guy come from? The unlucky vendor trembled and collapsed on the ground. The smell from his crotch had not dissipated, and his eyes were as hen. Several villagers glanced at him with schadenfreude. Having offended such a ruthless man, this guy would definitely be in bad luck. Hokage Tower. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was working on the documents, shuddered in shock after hearing the Anbi's report. He didn't even notice that the pipe in his mouth fell to the table. You mean Namikaze is back in the future. There was a tremor in his voice. Yes, we were monitoring the Jinchuriki at the time. We saw Namikaze Mirai walking out of the crowd and forcing the merchant who bullied the Jinchuriki to apologize. If I hadn't seen him with my own eyes, I might not have recognized him. The Anbu wearing a cat mask paused for a moment and then continued. In addition, the Fujiwara Chunin who was stationed at the gate of Konoha discovered early that the ninja who broke into the Konoha village looked exactly like Namikaze Mirai who had been missing for 3 years. This is his report. He took out a scroll and wanted to present it to Sarutobi Hiruzen, but the latter snatched it away and stared at it carefully. After watching for a while, he slumped down on the back of the chair unwillingly, his eyes as dim as soaked coals. He's really back. 3 years have passed, but at this time, during the Third War, 2 ninjas were born in Konoha who made enemy villages fearful. The yellow flash of Konoha, Namikaze Minato. Konoha's blue flash, Namikaze Mirai. Together, Konoha's two-color flash. Konoha, with the two-color flash in its hands, was a behemoth that other villages feared. In the 3 battles, countless ninjas from enemy villages died at the hands of these 2 men. Yellow flash shocked the ninja world with his flying thunder god technique. The blue flash has superb magnetic escape in one hand and can deliver ultra-long range strikes with a flick of his fingertips. At the end of the 3rd battle, he stood in the sky and easily defeated the Fourth Hokage who was also a magnetic escape ninja. That day, the entire kingdom of wind saw the blue beam of light penetrating the sky. However, such a strong man disappeared mysteriously during Kushina's pregnancy. He disappeared for 3 years. Ninja is a high-risk profession, even for a strong person like Namikaze Mirai. All major ninja villages have regulations. If a ninja disappears for more than 3 years, no matter what the reason, he will be deemed dead. Now that the 3-year period has arrived, just when Sarutobi Hiruzen was planning to write the word death in the Namikaze future files, he actually came back at this time. And as soon as he came back, he found the new Ninetales Jinchuriki, this beaver. Although he is Naruto's uncle, we have to guard against Sarutobi. Hiruzen stretched out his index finger to rub his temples, a hint of gloom gradually rising in his grey-brown eyes. No, in other words, it is precisely because he is Naruto's uncle that he needs to be more careful. Although they are brothers, Namikaze Mirai and his brother Minato have 2 completely different personalities. The older brother, Namikaze Minato, is gentle and approachable. But my younger brother Namikaze Mirai, Sarutobi Hiruzen's old-fashioned eyes narrowed slightly. Beneath the handsome face similar to Minato's, there was an unruly temperament. If you don't turn things upside down, you will never give up. During the 3 battles, I don't know how many things he caused. When the news of Namikaze Mirai's disappearance came, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If such a temperamental younger brother continues to assist Minato, his position will naturally become more and more marginalized, until eventually, it is not impossible to completely lose his influence on the top management. 1 flash in Konoha is enough. No need for a second flashpoint, but I didn't expect that he would come back at this time. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he had a really severe headache, as if a chopstick had been inserted into his temple and stirred violently. What was the reason that made him leave the village while Kushina was pregnant 3 years ago? What happened in the past 3 years? Why can't even a trace of his direct Anbu be found? Sarutobi Hiruzen was in a state of confusion. Squeak. The old wooden door was pushed open with a squeak, and a damp musty smell rushed to the tip of his nose. Namikaze frowned slightly and glanced inside. It was a dilapidated single room of about tens of square meters, with no decent furniture except for the refrigerator and the bed. The waste paper from the instant noodle bucket was scattered on the floor. Although he had already guessed that Naruto's life was very difficult, when he really saw this scene, the tip of Namikaze Mirai's nose couldn't help but feel sour. Uncle, are you hungry? I'll get you something to eat. The innocent Naruto did not notice anything strange about Namikaze Mirai. He was still immersed in joy after just knowing that he had relatives. I ran to the old refrigerator with bare feet, flipped through it a few times, and found something to eat. An unopened carton of milk. Uncle, drink milk. Naruto handed over the milk, and then looked at Namikaze Mirai expectantly. This was the best he could find. Namikaze Mirai tried to take a sip, and a sour taste mixed with milky taste spread out of his mouth. He turned the box and saw, sure enough, it had expired. Do you usually eat this? Well, it goes well with instant noodles. Uncle, does it taste good? Naruto blinked his royal blue eyes and looked at Namikaze Mirai expectantly, as if waiting for his reply. Namikaze Mirai's eyes suddenly seemed to be hit by something, and the scene in front of him became moist. It tastes good. It tastes good. Uncle likes it very much. After saying two nice things in succession, Namikaze Mirai hugged Naruto, who was still in a daze, into his arms, and hugged him tightly. Is this the embrace of a loved one? So warm. A smile of enjoyment appeared on Naruto's dull lips. Uncle came back late, which has made you suffer for the past 3 years. From now on, Uncle will never let anyone bully you. Chapter 3 Attack Sarutobi. Eat my railgun teeth. The next day. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen kept rubbing his temples. A sleepless night made him look extremely haggard at the moment, with bloated bags under his eyes like two silkworm babies hanging under his eyelids. Boom. The door to the Hokage's room was suddenly pushed open violently, and rough palms were pressed hard on the Hokage's desk. Hiruzen, did you know? Namikaze Mirai is back. Danzo's single eye outside the bandage was filled with evil spirits, and the gloom that had accumulated in his heart made his old face look permeable at this moment. Don't panic, Sarutobi. Hiruzen glanced at Danzo. This old friend of his is good at everything, but his mentality is too bad. Look at yourself, except that you haven't slept all night. You are not panic at all. HMPH. Nowadays, rumors are spreading in the streets and alleys that the powerful uncle of Demon Fox has returned after missing for 3 years. He must have some ulterior secrets. Danzo squinted his eyes. He had never had a good impression of Namikaze Mirai. During Minato's reign, this guy often used his power to suppress him, leaving him disgraced. When the news of Namikaze Mirai's disappearance came, it made him excited for a long time. Without this difficult brother, what would Minato do to suppress him? Unexpectedly, a few months later, the Night of the Kyuubi broke out, and Minato was gone. But he is now the nominal guardian of Naruto, which is very troublesome. Sarutobi. Hiruzen felt that his headache was getting worse again. No matter how much he rubbed his temples, there was no relief. This is what troubles him the most. Both Minato and Kushina had died in that accident. If Namikaze did not come back in the future, as the third generation, he would be Naruto's highest guardian. As long as you give him a certain amount of time, you can completely train Naruto into his own shape. In fact, he did exactly that, dragging along the heavy official duties and giving Naruto a large amount of living expenses every month. But now Namikaze Mirai intervenes. That guy has never been a peaceful person. If he really makes a scene, Hiruzen, let's just strike first. Danzo narrowed his eyes to reckless Sarutobi. Hiruzen shook his head. Not to mention that his strength is not weaker than Minato. Not to mention that he is Naruto's uncle. If we attack him rashly and make Naruto hate the village, we will be in trouble. Naruto is the Nine-tailed Jinchuriki, the most important strategic weapon in the entire village. There must be no accidents. It is precisely because he is Naruto's uncle that we need to act as soon as possible. If we delay it any longer, we don't know what will happen. Danzo gritted his teeth unwillingly. Keep hesitating, Hiruzen. You will regret it. Danzo, I'm the Hokage. Just when Konoha F2 was putting on a big quarrel in the Hokage Tower, Ichiraku Ramen and Namikaze Mirai were taking Naruto to eat ramen. The strong noodles were quickly swept into his mouth, and Naruto swallowed them into his stomach without even having time to chew. There were several finished noodle bowls placed on the empty table next to them. They were as clean as if they had been carefully licked with a tongue. They were the fruits of Naruto's battles. A few seconds later, another bowl of ramen was finished and placed on the empty bowl next to it. Naruto held his bulging belly and burped contentedly. Ah, you full. Namikaze Mirai, who was sitting next to him, looked at Naruto with a smile. I'm full. I'm full. This is the fullest I've ever eaten. Uncle, will there be another chance to eat like this in the future? Naruto looked at Namikaze Mirai eagerly. Of course, Naruto can come over and eat anytime he wants. Uncle, is the best. Naruto was so excited that he almost jumped up. This uncle he just met is the best person in the world to him. Get ready, I will take you to do something interesting later. Namikaze Mirai said with a smile. Interesting things. Naruto tilted his head. We'll find out when you go. 10 minutes later. Uncle, is this the interesting thing you said? Naruto grabbed Namikaze Mirai's big hand, blinked, and looked at the building opposite with some confusion. The Hokage building should be where Grandpa Hokage works, right? What fun things can you do here? Naruto had a hint of curiosity in his eyes. My good nephew, watch out. Namikaze Mirai took out a 50 teal coin from his pocket to settle for eating ramen. Well, Naruto tilted his head. This move will be very cool. He flicked the coin upwards with his thumb. As the coin flipped and fell, the world around him seemed to slow down. When the coin fell to its lowest point, Namikaze Mirai's fingertips flickered with blue electric light. Bar. In the erupting wind and waves, the coin suddenly turned into a blue beam of light and shot toward the Hokage building. Danzo, I'm the fire. In the Hokage Tower, the dispute between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo continued. An icy chill rose from Sarutobi Hiruzen's back, making the hairs on his entire body stand up uncontrollably. Years of accumulated life and death experience made Sarutobi Hiruzen keenly aware of the dangers behind him. But before he had time to react, the window of the Hokage building shattered, and a surging beam of blue thunder arc penetrated through and then struck the busts of past Hokage hanging on the opposite wall. Wait until everything calms down. Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils were trembling slightly. Danzo's eyes were also trembling, and the photo of the third Hokage hanging in the Hokage's room had been completely penetrated. The gentle smiling face wearing a bamboo hat was now only a hollow burned by the high temperature, with smoke curling out, and the buildings behind were clearly visible. This blow actually penetrated the entire Hokage building. Enemy attack. Protect Naruto. The bamboo hidden in the corner appeared beside Sarutobi Hiruzen with the sound of breaking through the air, protecting him firmly in the middle. That attack just now was too fast. Too fast. It's so fast that they can't react in time. When he came back to his senses, the Hokage building had been directly penetrated. The air became extremely heavy, as oppressive as condensed ice. The guarding Anbu's Adam's apple twitched, and he swallowed nervously. Even Danzo, who was always ruthless, had uncontrollable sweat dripping from his forehead. This extremely fast attack reminded him of the famous secret technique in the 3 battles. Is it possible? In this deathly silence, with a creak, the door to the Hokage's room was pushed open. Looking at the blonde figure that appeared, Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth slightly. It's you, Blue Flash. What on earth do you want to do? Chapter 4 Sister-in-law. She is a very gentle person. Blue Flash? The moment this long forgotten name appeared from Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth, the eyes of the surrounding Anbu masks were suddenly shocked. That was a legend once upon a time. The glory of Konoha, one of the 2 color flashes, the little brother of Yellow Flash, is Blue Flash. According to statistics, the number of enemies who died at his hands in the 3 battles was even higher than the Yellow Flash. However, 3 years ago, the Blue Flash disappeared mysteriously and there was no news to this day. Many people have forgotten his existence. Uncle Naruto, who was following Namikaze Mirai, tugged at the corner of his clothes nervously. At only 3 years old, he didn't understand the meaning of Blue Flash, let alone why these Anbu were so nervous. He only knew that destroying the Hokage Tower and breaking into the Hokage's room without permission was not what a good boy should do. I'm really happy to have you back in the future, perhaps. Noticing the unkind gaze of Namikaze Mirai, Sarutobi Hiruzen showed a kind smile, and that kind smile made people feel like a spring breeze. Completely forgetting that not long ago, he was discussing with Danzo how to deal with the future threat of Namikaze. After glancing at everyone in the Hokage room, Namikaze Mirai grinned. I came here this time only for one thing, justice. For my nephew. At the last sentence, his voice suddenly turned cold, as if a chill had hit him, causing the temperature in the Hokage's room to drop a few degrees. Sarutobi Hiruzen's smile was a little forced. I do not understand what you are saying. Naruto is the descendant of a hero. His life has always attracted my attention, and he has never been short of living expenses. What justice can he ask for? Namikaze Mirai laughed out loud, being called a demon fox and being bullied by the entire village. Is this how the son of a hero should be treated? Demon fox. Upon hearing these two words, the eyes of the Anbu surrounding Sarutobi Hiruzen changed. Many of them knew the identity of Naruto's nine-tailed Jinchuriki, and some even had the task of monitoring Naruto and witness Naruto being bullied by the villagers, but they turned a blind eye. As an Anbu machine, completing the mission is his highest duty. One of them, a white-haired cat-face masked Anbu, trembled slightly involuntarily. It was as if Namikaze Mirai's words had a strange touch on him. After a long silence, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally spoke inside. This is a sacrifice that has to be made to protect the Jinchuriki's identity. Once Naruto's identity is exposed, he will encounter many unnecessary dangers. For the sake of the village, I can only do this. There was a hint of contempt in Namikaze Mirai's eyes. For the village? What a high-sounding excuse. I remember that my brother owned a large fortune during his lifetime, right? Even if he died young, this property should be inherited by his son Naruto, right? Naruto is not yet an adult. This inheritance will be kept by me for the time being. When Naruto becomes an adult, it will naturally be handed over to Naruto. Before Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, he was rudely interrupted by Namikaze Mirai. There is no need to wait until Naruto reaches adulthood. Now that I have come back as Naruto's uncle, I'm naturally his highest guardian and have the right to inherit this inheritance. He narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen. What? Is it possible that you want to monopolize this inheritance? Sarutobi Hiruzen was speechless. His lips moved, but he couldn't speak. He can't get this inheritance at all. After the night of the Kyuubi, the village suffered heavy casualties. The pensions for the families of the dead ninjas and the reconstruction of the village alone were an astronomical sum. That part of Minato's legacy has long been used by him in other places. If Namikaze Mirai insists on wanting this inheritance, he will undoubtedly kill him. You know the future. The village is in urgent need of reconstruction after that night, and all measures require financial support. I can only. Sarutobi Hiruzen licked his dry lips. Before he could finish his words, he was interrupted again by Namikaze Mirai. That is to say, my brother's inheritance has really been misappropriated by you. His eyes narrowed slightly. Namikaze Minato was the fourth Hokage of Konoha during his lifetime, so his assets were naturally needless to say, and his sister-in-law Kushina was the only heir to the Uzumaki clan, and inherited part of Uzumaki Mito's legacy. Such a huge amount of wealth was enough for Naruto to squander for several lifetimes, but it was abruptly taken away by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even if only a trace of it remains, nor would Naruto's childhood be so miserable. Seeing Namikaze Mirai's eyes gradually becoming colder, Sarutobi Hiruzen realized that he was in the wrong and turned to look at Naruto behind him, forcing out a kind smile. Naruto, after such a long time, you should know that grandpa, I'm the best to you. Naruto shrank back and hugged Namikaze Mirai's arm tightly. Although he couldn't understand the conversation between the two, if he was asked to choose one, he would undoubtedly choose the uncle he had known for only 2 days. Seeing that his smiling face was gone, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little sour in his heart. How so? It was obviously me who came first. As if remembering something, Namikaze Mirai suddenly sneered, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen with amusement in his eyes. Oh, swallowing up my brother's property during his lifetime and letting his surviving son suffer bullying from the entire village. If my sister-in-law is still here, I'm afraid the entire Hokage building will be demolished by her. The fierce red-haired figure appeared in the minds of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Anzo, and they shuddered subconsciously. Kushina and Minato are different. If she were really alive, with her character, she might actually do something terrible. I will get back every cent of Minato's inheritance, starting with the house. If you insist on resisting, you will bear the consequences. The depression in the Hokage room was difficult to dissipate for a long time. In the silence of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Anzo, there was only the white-haired Anbu with complicated eyes walking out of the Hokage building. Naruto could no longer suppress the desire in his heart. This was the first time he heard news from his parents. Uncle, my Parents, what kind of people are they? Naruto's blue eyes flashed with moist luster. He pursed his lips and looked up at Namikaze Mirai. He wanted to know too much about his parents. Even if it's just a tiny bit. It was something he had never felt before in his life. Namikaze Mirai knelt down and gently stroked Naruto's hair. Your father is the hero of the village and the fastest man in the ninja world. In terms of appearance, he is probably as handsome as your uncle. As for your mother, memories came flooding back, and Namikaze Mirai seemed to remember something, his eyes smiling like crescent moons. Sister-in-law, she is a very gentle person. Chapter 5. This is your father's home. On the streets of Konoha, Naruto was carrying a package and following behind Namikaze Mirai. Confused. Uncle, where are we going? As soon as he got up today, his uncle asked him to pack his things. That house is too dilapidated. Uncle will change it to a better one for you, Namikaze Mirai said with a smile. Get a better one. Naruto tilted his head. He has lived in that house for almost 3 years, and no one has asked him to change it. Uncle, what kind of house do you want to change? When some villagers saw this scene, their eyelids jumped immediately. It's a demon. The word stopped in his mouth before he finished speaking. The scene where Namikaze Mirai forced the merchant to apologize was still fresh in their memory. Don't mess with him. This guy's a ruthless person. The entire street actually opened a narrow passage to allow them to pass. Even though their eyes were filled with disgust, no one dared to speak out. Naruto stared at this scene dreamily. In the past, when he walked down the street, he was often scolded by villagers, and even children threw stones at him. This scene today has never happened before. This is the difference brought by strength. Namikaze Mirai smiled and stroked Naruto's hair. He thought this was a good opportunity to teach Naruto. Although they also regard you as a demon fox, if you are kind and weak, they will bully you even harder. But if you are too strong to be provoked, these people will avoid you for the first time. Like now, when faced with malicious intent, you must fight back as soon as possible. This is the best way to protect yourself. Naruto nodded in understanding. The two continued to move forward, and without the interference of these villagers, the journey was surprisingly smooth. Soon, the two came to a building. Naruto looked longingly at the house in front of him, a 3-story duplex villa with a wide yard outside, and many green plants. There were not many such luxurious residences even in the whole of Konoha. He didn't understand why his uncle brought him here. Uncle, why do we come here? Naruto turned and looked over. Didn't I say we would move? Namikaze Mirai grinned. Although he was smiling, his right foot had already been raised. Boom. A sound like an earthquake suddenly sounded, and the whole house trembled. In the midst of Naruto's shock, and a series of expressions of disbelief, the unusually strong door was kicked open to reveal a large hole, and the layout inside was clearly visible. How dare you kick in the door of your Uncle Sarutobi's house? This huge movement obviously shocked the residents inside. With an angry roar, the broken door was violently pulled open, and a middle-aged man with stubble appeared. He squinted his eyes and looked up and down at Namikaze Mirai. Boy, don't you know my name? Takito Sarutobi? How dare you kick in my door? No, how dare you know this? The third Hokage is mine. Before he could finish his words, he felt a sudden strong force coming from the collar of his chest, and then he was picked up and thrown into the yard behind him like trash. Ouch. It hurts. It hurts. Sarutobi. Kento fell so hard that he somersaulted several times in the yard and almost didn't even throw out yesterday's breakfast. Trespassing into other people's houses and beating the residents wantonly. This is a serious crime. I'm going to sue you to the Hokage. Rubbing his forehead where he had been thrown out of the big bag, Sarutobi Ken was shaking with anger. His eyes were red, and he pointed at Namikaze Mirai. Go if you want to. Namikaze did not look back in the future. He looked at the layout of the house, and a hint of melancholy suddenly appeared in his blue eyes. Sarutobi Takito ran away and dropped a bunch of harsh words. Before leaving, Naruto followed Namikaze Mirai into the house, watched him gently caressing the tables and chairs, and finally couldn't help but ask in a low voice, Uncle, isn't there something wrong with what we do? In his immature concept, breaking down other people's doors, and occupying other people's houses are things only very bad people would do. Namikaze Mirai knelt down, smiled and stretched out his big hand to mess up his blonde hair, because this is your father's home, Hokage. Room. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was dealing with official duties, was extremely agitated. Even the pipe in his mouth no longer smelled good. The big hole in the wall of the Hokage tower has been repaired, but the hanging portrait of the Sandaime has not yet been replaced. His originally handsome face turned into a big hole, hanging like a dark photo. This made him feel even more irritable. Get out of the way. I want to see the Hokage. Wait. You can't go in. The Hokage is. The sound of arguments coming from outside the Hokage's room made Sarutobi Hiruzen frown slightly. Before he could think more, the door had been pushed open. The intruder's head was swollen like a pig's head. If his facial features weren't clear, he probably wouldn't be able to recognize the person's identity. It Kento? How did it end up like this? Sarutobi Hiruzen winked at the guard who was blocking him. The guard ninja nodded and went out to close the door after there was no obstacle. Sarutobi Kento's tears welled up like a fountain, and he crawled to the feet of Sarutobi Hiruzen and hugged his thigh. Clan leader, you have to make the decision for me. I was having a good meal at home, and suddenly the door was broken down. A yellow-haired man came out. He looked like a delinquent young man with a smaller yellow hair. He beat me hard. Look at my handsome face. It's been beaten into disgrace. Wait, you mean the person who hit you has yellow hair? Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and keenly grasped the blind spots. Yes. Taketo Sarutobi sobbed. That yellow guy beat me really hard and even took over my house. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath. He probably knew what was going on. Namikaze Mirai left harsh words. Before leaving that day, he wanted to get back everything his brother had thrown away, and he would start with the house. That's what it means. My house is still occupied by them. We must not let go of these thugs who occupy other people's houses. If word spreads, what will the villagers think? Shut up. Before he could finish his words, Sarutobi Hiruzen glared at him fiercely. Sarutobi Kento was stunned and at a loss. He didn't know what he said wrong. How could the always gentle patriarch be so angry? Do you know who hit you? Who? Sarutobi Taketo looked stunned. He is Minato's biological brother. You should know best who the original owner of that house is. Sarutobi Kento was petrified on the spot. What the hell? The yellow hair that hit him is Minato Namikaze's biological brother. So, he occupied someone else's house, and the real owner came to visit. I'm the clown myself. When Minato and his wife died, their house became vacant, and Naruto was too young to live in such a big house. You said you wanted to stay temporarily, and I reluctantly agreed. I didn't expect that this stay would last 3 years. You said you would let me. What can I say to you? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were filled with anger, and he wished he could beat Sarutobi Kento himself. Did Namikaze Mirai fight Sarutobi Kento? It's a slap in his face. I'm afraid that tomorrow, the whole village will go crazy saying that the Sarutobi clan has occupied the Yondaime's house for 3 years, and his younger brother came to collect debts and drive away the Sarutobi clan who occupied his own house. Where does this leave his old face? The more Sarutobi Kento listened, the more frightened he became, and the more he listened, the more his heart grew cold. Unknowingly, he had caused such a big disaster. Wait, Minato's brother, does that boy Minato have a younger brother? It seems there is. Why is he called Namikaze? etc. Blue Flash. The one who hit him was a Blue Flash? Exclamation mark. Has he returned to the village? Haven't they all been missing for 3 years? As a member of the Sarutobi clan, Taketo Sarutobi knows the value of the 4 words Blue Flash better than ordinary villagers. That was the name that was more terrifying than the yellow flash in the 3 wars. A stream of warm and fishy liquid flowed out from his crotch. He was so scared that he peed. Chapter 6. My stupid brother. Daddy's house. Naruto stared blankly at the layout of the house, and these words caused ripples in his mind. Spacious kitchen, clean living room, warm layout for a family of 3. For some reason, the tip of Naruto's nose suddenly became sour, and the scene in front of him gradually became moist. Isn't this the home he has always dreamed of? The image of me lying on a cold bed countless late nights, looking at the dilapidated ceiling, and fantasizing about it. It appeared before my eyes like a dream. Second floor. Namikaze Mirai looked around and stopped in front of a room in his memory. Click. He skillfully twisted the handle and pushed open the door. The room was filled with clutter and dust. This was his former bedroom, now a utility room. Walking into the room and scanning the surroundings, his eyes were attracted by a corner of the photo album exposed among the clutter. Remove the accumulated clutter. Take it out and dust it off. Looking at the familiar scene in the photo, Namikaze Mirai suddenly sneered, but his eyes became increasingly moist. It was a photo of 3 people. The blonde young man in the middle had an unusually bright smile. He put his arms around their shoulders and pulled them towards him. The young woman on the right has bright red hair and an equally bright smile, while the young man with blonde hair on the left turns his head away in disgust and tries hard to lean out. Before Minato Namikaze got married, he lived here with his brother and sister-in-law. This life continued until Minato and Kushina got married, and he had to move away. After all, if you have been living with your brother and sister-in-law, outsiders will gossip about you. Speaking of which, I've been back for a few days, but I haven't seen you yet. Namikaze Mirai seemed to be remembering something. His voice was melancholy. Konoha Cemetery. All dead ninjas in Konoha will be buried here, like an endless monument, standing alone in the corner of the village. Namikaze Mirai placed the lily in his hand in front of the tombstone. This is the grave of Namikaze Minato and Kushina, as the former 4th generation Hokage, the hero who saved the entire village. After his death, he was still buried here in obscurity, and no one cared about him. Looking at the tombstone in front of him, Namikaze Mirai's eyes suddenly became melancholy, recalling the scenes when he traveled to the ninja world. In his previous life, he was also an orphan. His only relative, his grandma, raised him up. He was very ambitious and got into a prestigious university. He thought he would be able to get ahead, but instead he became a social beast. Once he died suddenly, after staying up late and working overtime. He didn't even have time to delete the browser history, so he traveled to this place called the Ninja World. Namikaze Mirai was panicked. In my mind, this seems to be a very popular island country movie. But in his previous life, he had not been involved in this kind of film. After racking my brains, I could only recall scattered words such as 5 villages fighting with each other, Gundam saving his mother. Or a meme I accidentally saw on social media. Fortunately, when God closes a window for you, he will lift the ceiling for you. In Namikaze Mirai's mind, there is a towering electromagnetic tree that can absorb any form of energy and upgrade the level of electromagnetic force. Then you bastards of the ninja world, come and see your electromagnetic emperor. During the 3 wars, with the self-developed railgun, electromagnetic propulsion, and handmade simple Gundam, Namikaze Mirai successfully launched the name of Magnetic Epilepsy, Blue Flash, along with Minato's Yellow Flash. Konoha's two-color flash was juxtaposed. In the 3rd battle, he fought against the magnetic escape Alyosha, standing in the sky, and beat Alyosha to the point where he once doubted that he had cultivated a fake magnetic escape. After the war, Minato became the 4th Hokage and lived a shameless life with his sister-in-law Kushina. Seeing that Kushina's belly was getting bigger day by day, Namikaze Mirai thought that it was not an option to continue like this, so he went out of the village to do that. Unexpectedly, it will last 3 years. Come out without looking back. Namikaze Mirai spoke calmly. Behind him, a figure walked out of the shadows. Standard Danbu costumes, ninja sword, cat face mask, white hair. Future brother, I knew you would come here. Kakishi's eyes were complicated. Minato has been dead for 3 years. As his disciple, is this how you treat his orphan? Namikaze Mirai did not turn around, but there was a hint of coldness in his voice. Kakashi was silent. In the past 3 years, he has been in a pain and unable to extricate himself. My father committed suicide. My best friend died. I killed my companions with my own hands. Both my master and my mother died. A series of blows made his world extremely dark. He could only bury himself with the cold tasks of Anbu, like a machine. Days like this continued until That day, when Namikaze Mirai led Naruto into the Hokage's room, it was like a heavy hammer that hit his frozen heart. This is also the reason why he came to see Namikaze Mirai today. He couldn't forgive himself and turned a deaf ear to Naruto. Tell me what happened that night. Namikaze Mirai's eyes narrowed into a needle-like point. In the days since he returned, he had investigated Minato's death, and the information he obtained was quite limited. Everyone seemed to be keeping secrets about that night. Kakashi looked past the stacks of tombstones in the cemetery and groaned. That day was the day when Mrs. Kushina gave birth. Kakashi narrated all the information he knew. As the captain of the Anbu, he had access to far more information than ordinary ninjas. In addition, after the Night of the Nine Tails, he specially used resources to investigate the truth of that night. It can be said that what he knows about what happened is almost the same as that of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo and other senior officials. Sharingan, Nine Tails riot, traces of wood release. Namikaze Mirai's eyes gradually narrowed. Things were more complicated than he imagined. It actually involves the Sharingan and wooden release, and can control the Nine Tails, which is definitely not what ordinary Sharingan can do. High level speculation may be related to the Uchiha clan. This is why Uchiha is now highly suspicious of the village. It shouldn't be them. Namikaze Mirai said calmly. Minato had been working hard to resolve the conflict between Uchiha and the village during his lifetime. Those guys have no reason to do such stupid things. Kakashi thought to himself that this was what he felt was unreasonable. After listening to Namikaze Mirai's words, he felt more and more that the village's investigation had fallen into a misunderstanding, and the truth was definitely not what it seemed. Being able to sneak into the village without disturbing the barrier, fight against Minato who masters the Flying Thunder God, and it is very possible to master the two powers of wood release and Sharingan at the same time. No matter who you are, I will never let you go. Namikaze Mirai stared at Minato's tombstone. Before that, my stupid brother, leave Naruto to me. Chapter 7 Uchiha Itachi's Fear. Private Marcel. A kimchi grill. The table is covered with a variety of exquisite barbecued meats, which are sizzling and steaming in the butter, exuding an alluring aroma. I'm going to start. Naruto's saliva was already overflowing, like a hungry wolf that had been hungry for several days, grabbing a piece of barbecue that was so fat that it was dripping with oil, and biting into it. His hands and face were covered with oil stains, and he turned into a big tabby cat, but he didn't care at all. The eating appearance is extremely ugly. Miku Namikaze, who was sitting opposite, smiled like an aunt. Naruto was growing up, so eating more meat would help with protein absorption. After all, he has a whirlpool constitution, and his appetite is larger than that of ordinary people. His sister-in-law Kushina could eat most of the roasted suckling pig in one meal, leaving the smaller half for her and Minato's turn. Thinking of his sister-in-law Kushina, Namikaze Mirai's eyes changed from reminiscence to regret, to sigh. My sister-in-law has never been weaker than others in her life. Naruto's surname was Uzumaki, which he initially refused. How can I, the son of the Namikaze family, take my mother's surname? No matter what happens, you have to take his uncle's surname, right? However, my sister-in-law's attitude was very firm. After the Uzumaki kingdom was destroyed, the Uzumaki clan was almost wiped out. His sister-in-law inherited the Uzumaki Mito legacy, and was almost the last direct bloodline of the Uzumaki lineage. This bloodline must be passed on. Minato loved Kushina very much, and agreed without thinking. As an uncle, it was naturally difficult for him to refuse. In addition, there is another important reason. The Namikaze clan is too small. It was so small that there were almost only 2 clan members left, namely him and Minato. For such a small clan with no sense of existence, it was natural for Naruto to inherit the political legacy of the Uzumaki clan in the name of Uzumaki. This is also my brother paving the way for Naruto's future. Namikaze Mirai looked at Naruto's yellow hair. The more he looked at it, the happier he became, and the smile in his eyes became deeper and deeper. Fortunately, my Namikaze bloodline is still that of Niobe. Although his surname is Uzumaki. Mao's Namikaze, the iconic red hair of the Uzumaki clan, was also covered by Namikaze's yellow hair. It doesn't mean he has insulted his own bloodline. Uncle, what are you looking at? Naruto swallowed the roasted meat in his mouth and felt that his uncle's eyes were a little strange. Looking at your hair. Naruto was stunned. Welcome to our next visit. The fat man in the barbecue restaurant smiled and bowed to the two people who left, his belly full of fat almost hanging to the ground. Uncle, where should we go to eat next time? Hiccup. Naruto held his belly like a hill and let out a long burp. In the past few days with his uncle, he had eaten all kinds of delicacies in Konoha. He seemed to have discovered that whatever Grandpa Hokage could give him, his uncle could give him. But what his uncle gave him, Grandpa Hokage could not give. Next time, Namikaze Mirai rubbed his chin with his fingers. Before he could speak, he heard a childish voice like a bell coming from in front of him. Listen, I want to eat this meatball. 3-year-old Sasuke looks quite cute, and his childish voice has a hint of milkiness. He was riding on Uchiha Itachi's shoulders, pointing at the 3-color meatballs in the shop, and drooling. Meatballs, his favorite meatballs. Itachi gently took out a few coins from his pocket, bought the 3-color meatballs amidst Sasuke's cheers, and handed them to Sasuke on his shoulder. Listen is the best. After taking a big bite of the meatball, before starting to chew it, Sasuke was stunned when he saw Naruto staring at him in front of him. Big eyes stared at small eyes, and they met directly. What? A cute girl. Naruto made a silly sound. Sasuke was so angry that he didn't even have time to swallow the ball in his mouth, waving his arms and yelling childishly, "You are the girl. Your whole family is girls." The white and tender cheeks on both sides even swelled with anger and turned red. Although many people say they are cute, girls go too far. Still, from such a yellow-haired brat, Namikaze Mirai looked at Sasuke and Itachi with a smile. As he looked at Itachi, Itachi was also looking at him. The more he looked at it, the more cold sweat formed on his forehead, and his heart was beating like he was stepping on bright red coals. This man, if he remembers correctly, the Yondame's younger brother, Aunt Kushina's brother-in-law, Blue Flash. Recently, there have been rumors in the village that the demon fox has found an uncle. The major families in Konoha have already received information that it is the Blue Flash that has returned to the village. This legendary ninja, who had disappeared for 3 years, finally returned to the Konoha stage 3 years later. Moreover, as a member of the Uchiha clan, Itachi knew more information than ordinary villagers. The turmoil in the Hokage Tower in the past few days was caused by Namikaze Mirai. The entire Hokage building was penetrated, and he left calmly surrounded by a large number of Anbu and Hokage. Such oppression, Simi, Marcel, Itachi couldn't control it anymore. He folded his whole body 90 degrees, made a standard and awe-inspiring bow, and almost buried his head on the ground. It hurts. It hurts. Sasuke, who was riding on his shoulders, fell down and fell to the ground. The 3-color meatball in his hand also flew out and rolled several meters away, covered in dust. Listen, what are you doing? You can't even eat the meatballs. Rubbing his slightly red and swollen forehead, Sasuke's little eyes turned red. Soon, his expression stiffened. Itachi still didn't raise his head. His whole body seemed to be folded at 90 degrees, almost burying his head on the ground. Please forgive Sasuke for his ignorance. I sincerely apologize to you on his behalf. Simamase. Sasuke's chin almost dropped to the ground, his dark brown pupils filled with disbelief. What the hell? Am I under an illusion? Why does Naruto have so much respect for this yellow-haired brat? Or was it that I had accidentally offended someone who should not be offended? Little Sasuke shuddered. After all, he was only a 3-year-old child with an immature mind. Seeing his elder brother, whom he had always respected, behave like this, he was so frightened that tears welled up in his eyes. Beads of sweat had formed on Itachi's buried forehead. The reason for his behavior is that on the one hand he is afraid of Namikaze's future strength, and on the other hand, he is also trying to excuse the Uchiha clan. Ordinary villagers may not understand what happened on the night of the Kyuubi, but as the eldest son of the Uchiha clan, he knows it very well. That night, 3 Nagatama appeared in Kyuubi's pupils, which seemed to be controlled by Sharingan. This is a reason why the Uchiha clan is highly suspicious of senior officials. They suspected that the Knight of the Nine Tails was related to the Uchiha clan. Namikaze's future brother and sister-in-law died in the Knight of the Nine Tails. In this context, if Sasuke's words "all your family are girls" touched Namikaze Mirai's nerves, the consequences would be troublesome. It is very likely that the scene at the Hokage Tower will be repeated in the Uchiha clan. The air seemed to solidify into ice, and the depressed Itachi and Sasuke could hardly breathe. Itachi's clothes were soaked with sweat as he bowed 90 degrees, like a criminal awaiting trial. Seeing this scene, Sasuke next to him covered his mouth and held his breath, almost not crying. In such depression. Itachi, who was bowing, suddenly heard a slightly teasing voice. "Why are you so nervous? I won't eat you." Although the tone was a bit contemptuous, the nonchalance seemed genuine. Itachi raised his head tentatively. "You really don't care? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 8 Aunt Mikin is a very beautiful woman. That happened. Ask yourself, what if you were Namikaze Mirai? After disappearing for 3 years and returning to the village, the first news I got was that my brother and sister-in-law were dead. And the Uchiha clan is closely related to this matter. He would definitely be full of hostility towards Uchiha, and he might even directly regard him as the murderer of his brother in this state of mind. If you happen to meet the son of the Uchiha clan leader on the road, it just so happened that the son of this enemy made rude remarks and insulted his deceased brother and sister-in-law with the word girl. Itachi shuddered. Because of this, he was shocked by Namikaze Mirai's careless appearance. "Your name is Uchiha Itachi, Namikaze." Mirai's smile was quite kind, and with that smiling look, others might think that he was a friendly neighbor. But the more this happened, the less Itachi could understand what he was thinking. The suspense is getting deeper and deeper. Yes, Itachi didn't dare to say too much because he couldn't figure out Namikaze's future attitude towards Uchiha. To be on the safe side, don't touch the other person's sensitive nerves. Just when Itachi was tense, Namikaze Mirai's next words turned him to stone on the spot. "Oh, time flies so fast. I didn't expect Fugaku's son to be so old. Ever since Makoto got married, he seems to have never been to the Uchiha clan. I wonder how Makoto is doing now." Namikaze Mirai's smiling eyes showed a trace of reminiscence, looking at the end of the street, reminiscing about the past. Itachi's jaw almost hit the ground. He, who had always been steady, was shocked from ear to ear after hearing Namikaze Mirai's words. It's true that Fugaku is their father, but who the hell is Makoto? In a daze, Itachi felt as if he had discovered something extraordinary. There is great terror. Namikaze Mirai didn't care about Itachi's shock, or in other words, he didn't notice it at all, and recalled the past with a smile. Back then, he, Kushina, and Makoto had a good relationship. There were many ridiculous stories between him and Makoto. This kind of entanglement lasted until Makoto got married. It had to be terminated. After all, he had no idea about wives. This is also the reason why Kakashi was so sure when he mentioned the Uchiha clan in front of Minato's mausoleum yesterday. Minato becoming Hokage will be of great benefit to the Uchiha clan. At least, Minato really wanted to ease the relationship between the village and Uchiha. As long as he is given enough time, a new and prosperous Konoha will be born. There is no need or possibility for the Uchiha clan to do such a stupid thing. It would ruin the great future of Uchiha in vain, and reduce it to the current situation, where everyone is shouting for beatings. Of course, based on his understanding of Fugaku, that coward is definitely not someone who has the courage to do such a thing. There must be someone else who is the real culprit. Remember to tell Fugaku for me when you get back. After a while, I will personally visit the Uchiha clan. Namikaze Mirai's eyes turned into crescent moons when he smiled. Just think of it as apology for what happened back then. That's weird. His target is the top management of Danzo Sarutobi Hiruzen, whose interests are aligned with those of the Uchiha clan. If they can form an alliance, it will be of great benefit to him. In addition, maybe we can learn more about that night through Fugaku's channels. Okay, I understand. I will tell my father. Even Itachi, who was always calm, couldn't help but stumbling in his tone. Things progress completely beyond his expectation. With that said, He pulled Sasuke beside him and left. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, Namikaze would say something about Mikoto in the future. Namikaze Mirai looked at Itachi's panicked back with a smile. Mikoto's two children really look like her. Naruto looked at Itachi for a while, then looked at Namikaze Mirai for a while and couldn't help but ask, "Uncle, who is Mikoto?" "Aunt. Mikoto is a very beautiful woman, and she is very familiar with your mother, Namikaze." Mirai squatted half crouched, smiling and looking at Naruto's forehead. Night. After thinking about it for a day, Uchiha Itachi finally opened the door of Uchiha Fugaku's room anxiously. Fugaku, who had just finished taking a bath, was wearing pajamas, holding a book in his hand, sitting on the bed and reading carefully. "It's Itachi, it's so late, what's wrong?" Sensing Itachi pushing open the door and coming in, Fugaku put the book in his hand on the bedside table, looking at the eldest son, who was more or less similar to himself with a majestic face. Itachi, his pride. Although he is only 9 years old, he is already as strong as a Chunin. The depth of thought is far beyond what ordinary tribesmen can match. Such an amazing talent even attracted the attention of the third Hokage, who taught Itachi on his own many times and praised Itachi for having Hokage's mind. Although Fugaku was slightly dissatisfied, he didn't care, which confirmed Itachi's talent. No matter what, the fact that Itachi was his son could not be changed. "It's about mothers." Itachi hesitated for a moment and finally opened his mouth. The bright moonlight in the night sky outside the house was like a moon disk, and the sound of bathing came from the side room of the room. The father and son looked at each other in such a silent and unique environment, and there was a strange smell in the air. "About Mikoto." Fugaku, on the bed, frowned slightly. "Mikoto is his wife, taking a bath in the side room." Itachi, why came to see him so late at night, has something to do with Mikoto. "I met Namikaze Mirai on the streets of Konoha at noon today." Itachi spoke concisely and directly. "Namikaze Mirai?" Fugaku's eyes narrowed slightly without leaving any trace. This familiar name awakened his long-standing memories. "What did he say?" "He said he will come to visit the Uchiha clan in person after some time." Having said that, Itachi carefully paid attention to the change of expression on Fugaku's face. He didn't know what the relationship between his father and Namikaze Mirai was. "I don't know what impact my words will have." "Is that so?" Fugaku nodded. He was not surprised that Namikaze planned to visit Uchiha in the future. To be precise, he had been waiting for him to come since he got the news that he had returned to the village. Based on his understanding of Namikaze's future, if something big happened to Minato and it was related to Uchiha, there was no way he wouldn't come. Itachi observed Fugaku's expression and found that there was no change in his worries and finally swallowed his hanging heart. Chapter 9, Naruto's birthday. Uncle gives you an electromagnetic railgun. Uchiha Clanland. Nanga Shrine. A tense clan meeting is being held. Those who can participate in this meeting are at least those who have activated the 3 Megatama. The elites of the entire Uchiha clan are all gathered here. Clan leader, what's the matter with summoning us here? Uchiha Inari, who was sitting cross-legged at the head below, asked. The last time a clan meeting of this scale was a matter of clan relocation. Uchiha Fugaku, who was sitting cross-legged with a futon on top, had his arms folded, and his face with tear troughs was quite majestic. "I got news that Namikaze may come to the Uchiha clan in the future." Namikaze Mirai? As soon as he finished speaking, noisy discussion immediately sounded below. This name has been silent for too long, and many Uchiha people have even forgotten his existence. Amid the noisy sounds, a slightly hoarse cold hum suddenly sounded, causing the voices in the shrine to suddenly become quiet. "If I remember correctly, he should be the 4th generation's younger brother." The Uchiha tribesmen sitting cross-legged in the shrine all focused their attention on the figure in front of them. The twilight body was even a little stooped. One hand was holding a cane to support the decaying body. But those grey-brown eyes were as sharp as an eagle, exuding an edge that was completely inconsistent with his age. "Elder Setsuna, you are right. He is indeed the Yondame's younger brother." Hearing this, the shrine that had gone quiet became noisy again. "The Yondame's younger brother? What is he doing in the Uchiha clan? Hasn't he been missing for 3 years?" "I Heard that he came back a few days ago and even went to the Hokage Tower to cause a scene. This familiar yet unfamiliar name aroused the enthusiasm of the clan members for discussion. The youngest 4th generation Hokage in history was astonishingly talented, and as his younger brother, Namikaze Mirai was equally dazzling. During the 3 battles, Konoha's two-color flash became famous in the ninja world. They are like the twin stars of Konoha, the most amazing geniuses of that era. No matter how talented a ninja is standing next to them, they will instantly dim. But after the war, Blue Flash mysteriously disappeared, and Yellow Flash died in the Ninetales Rebellion. These two geniuses who amazed an era almost exited the stage of history at the same time. Some sigh, some mourn. As time goes by, people gradually forget his name. Until a few days ago, the Blue Flash returned with force and penetrated the entire Hokage building, announcing his comeback. Only then did this former genius reappear in their sights. Blue Flash, what is he doing in the Uchiha clan? Uchiha. Setsuna's eagle-like eyes narrowed slightly. He had never had a good impression of the Namikaze lineage. I remember that Namikaze Minato was the puppet Hokage raised by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Unfortunately, he died in the Ninetales Rebellion before his wings were full. What's the difference with this Blue Flash? Besides, his eyes narrowed further. There was something strange about the Kyuubi's riot that night. There were rumors in the village that the Magatama shadow appeared in the Kyuubi's pupils, and it was suspected that the Kyuubi was controlled by the Sharingan. If Namikaze made a fuss about this matter in the future and forced the death of his brother and sister-in-law on the Uchiha, it would be very detrimental to them. We don't know yet, so I invite you to come over and discuss countermeasures. Fugaku took an Uchiha Setsuna's performance and said calmly. The seniority of this elder Setsuna is terrifying and can be traced back to the Uchiha Madara period. He once caused a riot during the 2nd generation of power, but was exposed and imprisoned for several years. But this still did not break his temperament, and he has been dormant silently. As the leader of the clan, he had to be restrained by him on many things. Fugaku, you are still so weak. A Namikaze ninja has you tied up. There was a hint of sarcasm in Uchiha Setsuna's voice. He is probably the only one in the Uchiha clan who dares to speak to the clan leader like this. Namikaze Mirai is not an ordinary ninja. I have been in contact with him before, so I know better. Facing Uchiha Setsuna's sarcasm, Fugaku showed no emotion at all, and his tone remained calm. He and Namikaze Mirai were ninjas of the same generation and had many interactions. This man who seemed to be smiling all the time was much scarier than Minato. If he hadn't disappeared mysteriously, I'm afraid the night of the Ninetales wouldn't have happened. Really? Then I'm somewhat looking forward to it. Uchiha clutched the crutch for a moment. A smile appeared in Ing-ji's eyes. He wanted to see what was so surprising about this man whom Fugaku admired so much. Uncle, is today's dinner so sumptuous? At the dining table, Naruto's mouth watered as he looked at the table full of food, and he rubbed his hands in excitement. Although dinners were sumptuous in the past, they were far less sumptuous than tonight, especially since there was a huge cake in the middle of the dishes. Because today is your birthday, silly nephew. After a crisp brain collapse, Namikaze Mirai's eyes turned into crescents with a smile. After all, this should be Naruto's first birthday, right? My birthday. Naruto rubbed his forehead, a hint of curiosity in his blue eyes. The word birthday is very far away to him. It seemed like no one had ever celebrated his birthday. Naruto's eyes welled up with tears and he couldn't help but sob. I used to be very envious when I saw other children celebrating their birthdays inside the window. I hoped that my 3rd generation grandpa would celebrate their birthdays for me, but he was too busy with work and refused. Thank you, Uncle. Namikaze Mirai smiled and messed up Naruto's brilliant blonde hair. I can give you whatever Sarutobi Hiruzen can give you, and I can give you whatever he can't give you. Naruto, make a wish. Wish. I want to become Hokage and be recognized by everyone. Naruto. Namikaze Mirai smiled brightly. I have the same wish as your father. However, you have to line up behind your uncle. Because uncle, he also wants to be Hokage. By the way, this is the gift I prepared for you. Namikaze Mirai took out a scroll. Gift. Naruto opened his eyes expectantly and froze. The scroll recorded something that he couldn't understand at all. It looked like a design drawing of some kind of machinery. There were two long and narrow parallel tracks in the front, and something like a trigger in the middle. Electromagnetic railgun. With a weapon like this for self-defense, Uncle can feel a little more at ease with you, Namikaze Mirai said with a smile. He has mastered electromagnetic force and has superhuman control over technology. Every time the electromagnetic tree is upgraded, some new technology trees will be born in the mind. The electromagnetic railgun is the weapon he unlocked a long time ago. After returning to the village, he had been worried about Naruto's future. Although he is a Jinchuriki, his character is weak and kind. Can you really survive in the ninja world? Could it be that I have been a genin all my life? No, Naruto must be armed. You must not let your nephew be bullied by others. There is a kind of weakness, which is called uncle thinking you are weak. The electromagnetic railgun is just the beginning. Exoskeleton armor, mechas, aerodynamic cannons, star destroyers. Naruto needs to be armed to the teeth. Scientific research starts from childhood, and let Naruto win at the starting line. The fire of doting in Namikaze Mirai's eyes is burning brightly. Chapter 10 Visiting the Uchiha Tribe. You mean, Naruto has been tinkering with mechanical devices these days? Yes, I've been monitoring outside for a long time. The Jinchuriki seems to be studying something like ninja tools. Because of Namikaze Mirai, we dare not get too close, and can only observe from a distance. Hokage. Room. The half-kneeling cat-faced masked Anbu respectfully revealed all the information he had learned. Sarutobi Hiruzen, biting the cigarette holder, exhaled a white mist, and his grey-brown eyes revealed a trace of confusion in the mist. Mechanical device. Some kind of ninja tool. Why did Naruto suddenly have this hobby? Although Naruto was a little withdrawn in the past, and even made some pranks from time to time, he didn't seem to be interested in things like ninja tools. What exactly caused him to make this change? Is it Namikaze Mirai? Sarutobi Hiruzen fell silent. In the third war, the blue flash did seem to reveal some talent for mechanical devices, but as a ninja, ninjutsu is the standard for measuring ninja strength. No matter how good the ninja tools are, can ordinary people still fight against ninjas? My head started to hurt again. The temple seemed to be split. Even though I kept massaging it with my index finger, it didn't get any relief. Since Namikaze Mirai returned to the village, it seemed that many things had started to go wrong. At this rate, I'm afraid Naruto will grow crooked. What will Naruto look like in the future under the training of this weird uncle, Minato? I'm sorry for not teaching Naruto well. Sarutobi Hiruzen was worried about Naruto's future. At this age, the descendants of the great ninjas have already started chakra refining training, but what kind of machinery is he tinkering with? And the Uchiha, they seem to be restless recently, and the frequency of holding clan meetings is getting higher and higher. Danzo has expressed his anger about this matter many times, and the doors of the Hokage room have been changed one after another, but even so, he couldn't stand it. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't understand why his old friend would slam the door every time he said Hiruzen, you will regret it. This made Konoha's financial expenditure have one more item for nothing. Fortunately, there is Itachi. Hiruzen. Sarutobi's wrinkled old face smiled like a chrysanthemum. Although Itachi is Fugaku's son, he has the rare thinking of a Hokage, and is a ninja who has inherited the will of fire. When Itachi grows up, he plans to take Itachi into the Anbu and train him as an eyeliner for Uchiha. With Itachi's support, the future of Uchiha will not go astray. Everything is for Konoha. At the same time. Uchiha Clanland. The long sealed Clanland entrance welcomed two strange guests. Uchiha Jiin, who was guarding the Clanland entrance, squinted his eyes and looked at the two figures coming. One big and one small, both with yellow hair. Wait, the Uchiha Clanland is inside. The arrogant tone is almost like looking up, full of Uchiha characteristics. Uncle, they don't seem to welcome us. Naruto, who was holding Namikaze Mirai's hand, turned his head and looked at his uncle beside him. He didn't understand why his uncle came here and why he brought him along. But Naruto would agree to whatever his uncle wanted to do. Smiling and rubbing Naruto's hair, Namikaze Mirai turned her head and spoke calmly. Tell Fugaku that I'm here. Uchiha Jiin was stunned. Kuroko next to him came over cautiously. Brother Jiin, Fugaku is a clan leader, right? Is this person here to see the clan leader? Uchiha Jian looked up and down at Namikaze Mirai, and the more he looked, the more panicked he became. Could this yellow hair be Blue Flash, the younger brother of the Fourth Hokage? He thought it was Died. After recognizing Namikaze Mirai's identity, Uchiha Jian's tone softened immediately. Please, come with me. The clan leader's mansion. Uchiha Fugaku, who was sipping tea, was suddenly interrupted by a voice outside the door. Clan leader, Namikaze Mirai's visit to the clan seems to be for you. Fugaku sipped tea for a moment, slowly put down the teacup, and said calmly, I know. He had heard from Itachi that Namikaze Mirai would come to visit him in the near future, but he didn't expect her to come so soon. Notify Elder Setsuna and Inahime Tetsuka Yoshiro and the others. He paused. Also, call Itachi here. Yes, Uchiha Fugaku looked at the empty room. He didn't know the purpose of Namikaze Mirai's visit, nor did he know his opinion on the Ninetales Night. Now, he could only fight back. Namikaze Mirai led Naruto, followed behind Uchiha Jian, and scanned the surrounding Uchiha clan land. Desolate. This was his first impression. The sparse buildings hardly showed much life. Before leaving the village, Uchiha was one of the largest ninja clans in Konoha, with a thriving population and in a period of vigorous growth. I didn't expect that after only 3 years, it had become so desolate. It seems that night also had a great impact on Uchiha. As they walked along, ordinary houses gradually disappeared, replaced by mansions that occupied a large area. Pushing the door open, Namikaze Mirai saw a familiar figure leading a boy of about 3 or 4 years old. It's the guy who looks like a girl. Naruto jumped out excitedly and pointed at Sasuke next to Itachi. His young cheeks instantly turned red, and Sasuke was going crazy. You are a girl. Your whole family is. The word stopped suddenly. Sasuke looked at Namikaze Mirai next to Naruto and swallowed. Even my brother is afraid of this man. He didn't dare to continue talking because Itachi's performance that day was vivid in his mind. Namikaze Mirai seemed not to notice him, still smiling slightly, gently pushing Naruto's shoulder and pushing him in the direction of Sasuke. Go and play. Is that okay? Certainly. You should have fun at this age. Namikaze Mirai looked at Sasuke with a smile. Although this kid looked a bit like a girl, he would be a good playmate for Naruto. Itachi also nudged Sasuke and said in a gentle voice, Sasuke, the adults have to talk about something. You can play with that friend here. After saying that, he didn't wait for Sasuke's agreement and looked at Namikaze Mirai. Please, come with me. The door to the clan leader's mansion was pushed open, and Namikaze Mirai glanced inside. Uchiha Fugaku was sitting on the chair in the middle, surrounded by several other Uchiha clan members, all of whom were at the Jounin level. There was a hint of tension in the air. Uchiha leaned on his crutches, narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked at the man who made Fugaku so afraid. Minato's younger brother. As the younger brother of the Fourth Hokage who died young, Deo did have some grace. Future, why are you here this time, Uchiha? Fugaku's voice was low. 3 years later, he still couldn't see the future of Namikaze. This man who had been holding him down steadily. Fugaku, I wonder how Makoto is doing now. Namikaze Mirai said nothing and stared at Uchiha Fugaku with a smile. Fugaku's expression changed slightly. Itachi, who was standing behind him, also suddenly stiffened. Even Uchiha Setsuna, Inari and the others on the side had a trace of anger in their eyes, staring at Namikaze Mirai with murderous eyes. Chapter 11. My uncle is the best person to me in this world. Makoto is the wife of Uchiha Fugaku, the wife of the head of the Uchiha clan. Her name, in a sense, represents the face of the Uchiha clan. Hanami Mirai called her by her name, with a hint of teasing in her tone, which was a direct provocation in the eyes of Uchiha Setsuna and others. Makoto is fine. You don't need to worry about her. As the head of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku knew that he must not be carried away by emotions at this time. He took a breath and answered in a calm tone. Uchiha Setsuna and Inahori and others looked at Fugaku, and seeing that Fugaku was calm as usual, his expression did not change at all. They also secretly accepted the idea of speaking. Since Fugaku was not angry, then these outsiders naturally had no reason to speak. Fugaku, Makoto, Minato, Mirai, Although Mirai was the youngest among them, they could barely be considered ninjas of the same era, and had a deep relationship. Hanami Mirai's remarks could be understood as a greeting between old friends. The teasing in her eyes was gone, and Namikaze Mirai's eyes suddenly became serious, looking straight at Fugaku. I want to know the truth of that night. As his voice fell, the temperature in the hall suddenly dropped by several degrees, and a bone-chilling chill dissipated from Namikaze Mirai's eyes. Even Uchiha Setsuna, who had experienced countless struggles since the time of Madara, felt a chill for a moment. Sure enough, it came. Uchiha Fugaku sighed secretly in his heart. When he got the news that Namikaze Mirai had returned, he guessed that there would be the scene today. After missing for 3 years, the first news he got when he returned was the tragic death of his respected brother and sister-in-law. And Uchiha seemed to have a great connection with this matter. Namikaze Mirai, how could he give up? In the 3 wars, his reputation was much more bloody than that of the Yellow Flash. When the Ninetales rioted, I got the news and wanted to lead the Uchiha guards to support, but was stopped by the route under Danzo and could only watch the scene happen. Uchiha Fugaku spoke in a complicated tone. Danzo, Namikaze Mirai narrowed his eyes slightly. Yes. Fugaku sighed. If he could lead the Uchiha guards to support the Ninetales rebellion, relying on the restraint of the Ninetales by the Sharingan, it might not be impossible to save the situation. But I've made a note of this matter, and I will ask Danzo for an explanation. The coldness in his eyes did not dissipate, and his blue eyes were like frozen ice. I heard that there were traces of Magatama in the pupils of the Ninetales that night, suspected to be controlled by the Sharingan. He did not continue, but anyone could hear the coldness in his words. If Fugaku could not give a reasonable explanation for this matter, I'm afraid that this man, whose reputation is still higher than that of the Yellow Flash, will show his most terrifying scene. I don't know. Fugaku's mouth was bitter. He really didn't know. Until now, he still didn't understand why 3 Magatama were reflected in the pupils of the Ninetales that night. But all the evidence and eyewitness testimony confirmed this. But there is one thing I can be sure of, the Ninetales cannot be controlled by ordinary Sharingan. To achieve this, it must be the Manjiki. Fugaku, before he finished speaking, he heard Setsuna beside him hit his cane and shouted angrily. The Manjiki is the top secret of the Uchiha clan. How can outsiders know it? Elder Setsuna, do you think it is necessary to conceal it at this point? Uchiha Fugaku looked him straight in the eye. It is obviously worth exposing the information related to the Manjiki in exchange for the calming of Namikaze Mirai. What's more, it is no longer their choice now. Manjiki, Namikaze Mirai frowned slightly. Yes. Uchiha Fugaku took a breath. That is a higher level I than the ordinary Sharingan. No one in the Uchiha clan has mastered it since the ancestor Uchiha Madara. He carefully concealed the information that he opened the Manjiki. At this moment, it is better not to touch the sensitive nerves of Namikaze Mirai. However, even if the information that he opened the Manjiki was exposed. The scene that night, when he led the guard team to support, was witnessed by a large number of clan members in the route, which was enough to prove it. Tell me all the information about the Manjiki, Namikaze Mirai's tone revealed that it could not be refused. Fugaku hesitated for a while, but finally nodded and began to narrate. Including how to open the Manjiki and the secret of one eye corresponding to one eye technique. When Inabi Itachi and others present heard such a mystery, they were all shocked. Outside the house, Naruto and Sasuke were playing a ninja role-playing game. Different from the tense atmosphere inside the house, it was harmonious and cheerful here. You're on the bottom, I'm on top. Naruto held a wooden kune and pressed on Sasuke, clamping his hands and making him unable to move. It's not fair. I want to be on top. Little Sasuke was so anxious that his eyes were filled with tears. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't get away. It was said that it was fun to play ninja fighting, but he actually attacked by surprise, which was an ethical point. Naruto let go of Sasuke. Okay, let's do it again. A few seconds later, Sasuke was pressed down again. The little face was as anxious as a cat, and he almost cried. Although he looks like a girl, he is still quite manly. Naruto pulled Sasuke up and smiled happily. After Namikaze Mirai's care, He has gradually lost his original twilight and gloominess, and now has some vigor and vitality that he should have at this age. Humph, of course, he was obviously very happy to be praised, but he still had to pretend to be arrogant. Before he could react, Naruto grabbed his hand and held it tightly. Then, "We are friends, Naruto," smiled brightly. Speaking of which, this was the first friend he made. Sasuke was stunned. It was so simple. "It seems that I have suffered a loss. By the way, why are you so powerful?" "Of course my uncle taught me. He also taught me many other things." "Something else?" "Well, for example, the phenomenon of electromagnetic induction, the theory and research on electromagnetic railguns, 5 years of scientific research and 3 years of simulation." Naruto crossed his fingers and counted them carefully one by one. Sasuke was dumbfounded. What are these? Why can't he understand any of them? At this age, isn't it time to pester your brother and act like a spoiled brat? Naruto suddenly thought that the assembly of the electromagnetic railgun was almost completed with the help of his uncle. Seems very amazing. Do you want to bring it with you next time you go to Grandpa Hokage's house to play pranks? Who is your uncle? After calming down, Sasuke swallowed and asked sincerely. Naruto's eyes turned into crescent moons when he smiled. "Uncle, he is the best person to me in this world." Chapter 12. Leave it to me to do what my brother has not finished yet. After digesting the information provided by Uchiha Fugaku, Namikaze Mirai exhaled, and his eyes flickered slightly. Kaleidoscope. There is actually a higher level Sharingan. He hadn't seen Naruto. All I know is that it is a very popular island film. The memes he accidentally glanced at on social media, such as Legend of the Eyes, Gomuragundo, Gundam vs. Aliens, and Black Zetsu Save the Mother, were all he knew about Naruto. Could it be that the eye legend refers to this eye? My Gundam shouldn't have gone astray, right? What the hell is saving my mother? Is it possible that there are other restricted ethical plots? Namikaze Mirai's thoughts began to wander. Uchiha Fugaku stared at Namikaze Mirai's expression and found that the expression on his face gradually softened from solemnity, and his tense heart relaxed. If possible, he would never want to be an enemy of Namikaze Mirai. This is a very scary man. Much more difficult to deal with than the Fourth Hokage. The most important thing is that now he has no bonds. Naruto was his only relative left. It would be foolish to anger this lone wolf at this time. I roughly understand the situation. Namikaze Mirai's sudden voice made Fugaku's heart beat up again. Uchiha, it probably has nothing to do with that night. Namikaze Mirai narrowed his eyes slightly. Combining the information he currently had and the information he just learned from Uchiha Fugaku, he roughly sketched a profile of the murderer. His identity is hidden. He hides in the dark. He possesses a kaleidoscope, and he is most likely a pupil of time and space. Combined with the traces of wood escape discovered that night, it is possible that the other party could master wood escape. The reason why he was sure that the opponent's pupil technique was of the time and space type was because of his understanding of Minato. Only time and space can defeat time and space. These were Minato's exact words. His time and space talent has always been poor, and even with Minato teaching him, it was extremely difficult to master the Flying Thunder God. However, he also made huge gains during the 3 years he disappeared. Maybe you can try it. After dispersing the thoughts in his mind, Namikaze Mirai looked into Fugaku's eyes and spoke calmly. "Now, it's time to get down to business." "Business?" Fugaku frowned, not understanding what Namikaze Mirai meant. The latter didn't seem to notice his changes. His eyes were melancholy, as if he was recalling something. "When I returned to the village and learned about the experiences of my brother and sister-in-law, I always had the idea to drive Sarutobi Hiruzen and his group out of the position of Hokage. However, to achieve this goal, it is not enough for me alone. I need to rely on your strength." The long conversation made Uchiha Fugaku a little dry. He licked his dry lips, and his heart was beating uncontrollably. Not only him, but the surrounding Uchiha Setsuna, Inari and others began to breathe rapidly, and their eyes became scarlet. Crazy. To crazy. They could only use this word to describe Namikaze Mirai. These remarks were undoubtedly a declaration of war among the entire top management of Konoha, as far as I know, Uchiha's situation is not good, so this is also an opportunity for you to stand behind me, or continue to be the lackeys of that group of people, Namikaze. Mirai smiled, but that smile made people shudder. There was a tremor in Fugaku's voice. Can you let me know why? In my memory, Namikaze Mirai has never been a person who was greedy for power. Could it be that, after the 3 battles, he is a more powerful candidate than Minato to compete for the Hokage point? However, he gave up. He was willing to stay behind the scenes and silently assist Minato. Why? Namikaze Mirai turned his head and looked out the window. From this position, he could see 3-year-old Naruto playing with Sasuke, smiling brightly. Is this reason enough for that child? That child. Fugaku followed Namikaze Mirai's line of sight and looked over the 4th generation surviving son. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen tried his best to conceal Naruto's identity as the leader of the Uchiha clan, he was naturally aware of this relationship. I've been thinking, if I came back a few years later, if I didn't come back, what would Naruto's life be like? Would he live under the bullying of others all his life? Namikaze Mirai closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and filled his lungs with cold air. Every time I think about it, a little anger rises in my heart. That child is the only thing left in this world by my stupid brother. Is this reason enough for him? He opened his eyes, and a pair of blue eyes vaguely danced with thunder arcs. The cold look in his eyes gave Fugaku a chilling feeling. He knew that the beast was really angry. The consequences will be very serious. My stupid brother, although he has some talents, is not ruthless and decisive enough. I have tried my best to remind him, but still, his death is by no means as simple as it seems. It is full of strangeness and conspiracy. It would be fine if I didn't come back, but now that I'm back, there are some things that I can never let go of. Leave it to me to do what my brother hasn't finished yet. I, Namikaze, will decide the position of Hokage in the future. The hall fell completely silent. Namikaze Mirai's last voice was like a heavy hammer, echoing throughout the hall. Uchiha Fugaku, Inari and others all fell into silence. In this deathly silence, a hearty laughter interrupted the deathly silence. Namikaze Mirai, with this kind of spirit, I, Uchiha Setsuna, recognize you. Uchiha Setsuna, who was leaning on crutches, smiled happily. It had been a long time since he had felt this kind of enthusiasm. Since Madara left the village, the blood and bones in his body seemed to have become silent. Finally, under Namikaze Mirai's words, the blood in his body began to boil, as if he had returned to his youth, to the glorious years of following Uchiha Madara. Namikaze Mirai's blonde face even overlapped with Uchiha Madara's for a moment. Setsuna felt like he had caught the future. Fugaku, how long are you going to drag on? Is it possible that your blood has really been exhausted? Seeing Fugaku's hesitation, Uchiha suddenly punched his cane and made a sound of reluctance. When will this clan leader become strong-willed? Uchiha Fugaku took a deep breath and closed his eyes, as if hesitating and struggling. Finally, he opened his eyes and sighed. As long as it doesn't endanger the tribe, I can stand on your side. Namikaze Mirai smiled slightly. As you wish. He turned around, leaving a few people in silence, pushed the door open, and left. Naruto was playing with Sasuke outside the house. When he saw the future coming out, he ran up excitedly. Uncle, you have negotiated a good deal. Namikaze Mirai held his hand and walked outside. In the sunshine, the shadows of the two people stretched very long. Uncle, you seem very happy. Naruto raised his head and looked at his smiling uncle. He didn't know why his uncle was so happy, but when his uncle was happy, he was happy. Of course uncle is happy. Namikaze Mirai smiled brightly. Because uncle wants to be Hokage. Chapter 13 Hiruzen, just wait for my good news. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was dealing with official duties, was chewing on his pipe. Before he could put down his pen, he heard a bang and the door to the Hokage's room was suddenly kicked open. He frowned. Danzo, this is the 3rd gate this month. Before he could finish speaking, a large rough hand slammed down on the Hokage's desk. Hiruzen, Namikaze has gone to the Uchiha clan in the future. Don't you know? Danzo panted anxiously, spittle flying around. I know, but what's the point? The Anbu has been monitoring the Uchiha clan, and there is no way for Namikaze to hide his future plans from him. But Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't think it was anything. Shaking his head, he picked up his pen and continued to complete his unfinished business. Boom. The table was shaken violently, and the pen in his hand was bounced away. Danzo, what exactly do you want to do? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked displeased and stared at his old friend, with a hint of anger in his voice. Danzo's performance today seemed a bit excessive. It will never be that simple for Namikaze to go to the Uchiha clan in the future. Maybe there is some conspiracy. Danzo's eyes narrowed slightly. After being reminded by his old friend, Sarutobi Hiruzen also calmed down. Then, what do you think there is going to be? I have no idea, Danzo spoke with certainty. How could he possibly know that he was not the round worm in the belly of those Uchihas? How could he possibly know what those Uchihas were planning? The reason for such a big reaction was purely his instinctive dislike of Uchiha. Anyway, it's definitely not a good thing to hook up with those Uchiha. The evil Uchiha would rather kill someone by mistake than let him go. Perhaps I just want to find out what happened that night. After all, there is Sharingan Magatama in Kyuubi's pupils. It is impossible for Namikaze not to know about it in the future. After thinking for a moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen gave what he thought was a reasonable explanation. His brother and sister-in-law died, and Uchiha was suspected to be related to this matter. Even for this reason, Namikaze must go to the Uchiha clan in the future. But what if it's not? Danzo stared at his old friend with dark eyes. Hiruzen, you should have noticed Uchiha's restlessness. Have you forgotten the teachings of the second generation? Uchiha are a naturally evil clan. They have always coveted the rights of the village and are ready to take action. Blue Flash is also an evil person. Have you forgotten what Minato did to us when he became Hokage? Now that these two evil beings have come together, Hiruzen, I dare not even think about what the future of Konoha will be like. Sarutobi Hiruzen's grey-brown eyes gradually became serious as he listened to Danzo's indignant words. We can't confirm their thoughts yet. Uchiha is closely involved in the deaths of Minato and Kushina. The possibility of Namikaze and Uchiha getting together in the future is very low. We just going to let that guy do whatever he wants? Before he could finish his words, he was rudely interrupted by Danzo. He pressed his left palm on the table and leaned forward, approaching in a rather oppressive manner. Sarutobi Hiruzen remained silent. The Hokage room suddenly became quiet. Indeed, he was worried about this too. Before Namikaze returns to the village in the future, there is only one unstable factor in Konoha, the Uchiha clan. And when Namikaze returned to the village in the future, Konoha added another unstable factor now. These two unstable existences have come into contact. No matter how much Sarutobi Hiruzen tried to convince himself, deep down in his heart, a trace of worry could not help but arise. If it is real. But don't worry, I'm ready. There was a sneer in the corners of Danzo's ferocious eyes. Danzo, what are you going to do? Sarutobi Hiruzen had a vague feeling of bad premonition. Could it be that Danzo did something he didn't know about again without telling him? Since the root of the problem is Namikaze Mirai, wouldn't it be enough to solve the root cause? Danzo smiled confidently. Before his eyes, the scene of Namikaze Mirai's execution seemed to have appeared. Danzo, are you crazy? A surge of anger rushed into his brain like substance, and Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Danzo angrily. Don't you know that he is Naruto's uncle, his biological uncle? If you attack him, if Naruto loses control, do you want the scene 3 years ago to happen again? Sarutobi Hiruzen felt his blood pressure rising. Danzo did something stupid again behind his back. Doesn't he want to get rid of Namikaze Mirai? He had been missing for 3 years, and once he returned to the village, he caused a scene in the Hokage room. Where could he put his dignity as a Hokage? Only he can't. As a Jinchuriki, Naruto's abilities have not yet been tested. At only 3 years old, he was absolutely unable to suppress the Kyuubi's uprising. If Namikaze is really good at something in the future, Naruto, as the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales, loses control and lets the Ninetales break out of the seal, and he will be in big trouble. There is absolutely no way for Konoha to have another Kyuubi night. HMPH. Hiruzen, you are still so weak. Danzo disagreed. Don't worry, I'm fully prepared. The roots will be treated very clean. Even if it gets to that point, won't there be a ceiling class? After taking a deep breath, Sarutobi Hiruzen gradually calmed down. Don't forget, his strength is not inferior to Minato, so what? Danzo grinned and sneered. I have studied all his abilities, and they are nothing more than special magnetic escape. The root elites I carefully prepared were perfectly selected for his abilities. No matter what, this time he won't be able to escape. Counting the time. It's time to start now. The sun sets in the west, and the remaining sun is like blood. Namikaze Mirai held Naruto's hand and walked on the way back. Under the setting sun, their shadows were very long. Naruto, you can go back by yourself the rest of the way. Uncle has something to deal with. Namikaze Mirai squatted down and stroked Naruto's hair with a soft smile. How could that happen? Isn't Uncle going back to make dinner for Naruto? Naruto tilted his head, looking confused. We obviously just agreed to have dinner together. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Because Uncle suddenly has something to deal with. But Naruto hesitated a little and looked at the empty street. It didn't seem like there was anything going on around him. His big hands messed up Naruto's hair, and Namikaze Mirai's eyes turned into crescent moons as he smiled. Don't worry, Uncle, I'm very strong. Naruto's heart finally calmed down, and he nodded with a bright smile. After Uncle handles the matter, he must remember to come back and cook dinner for Naruto. Of course, Uncle will definitely do what he promised Naruto. Pull the hook. Well, Lagao. Naruto left with satisfaction, walking towards the end of the street under Namikaze Mirai's gaze until he disappeared. Come out. His voice was as cold as ice. Chapter 14. The 3 years of disappearance. As expected of the blue flash, it discovered us so easily. The voice contained no emotion at all and was as cold as a machine. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With the sound of several piercing sounds in the air, several masked ninjas suddenly appeared around Namikaze. A surrounding array appeared, surrounding him in the middle, making it airtight. The pattern of the mask is more concise, with almost no animal features visible, and the air is as cold as a machine. The roots. Namikaze Mirai sneered. It seems that Danzo finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He only sent a few of you to die. Isn't he looking down on me a little too much? Half of the 10-member Root Elite team are Jounin. The other 5 people are all special Jounin level. He has a special perception ability that can detect biological magnetic fields. To a certain extent, he can also sense the approximate strength of his enemies. This was also the reason why he was immediately aware of these roots the moment they approached. As for whether Naruto will be in danger, Namikaze is not worried in the future. Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and his stake is of great importance. Danzo cannot attack him rashly. The most important thing is that there is no strange biomagnetic field on the path back from here. This shows that these roots are directed at him, and Naruto's safety should be guaranteed. Namikaze Mirai, please come with us. Danzo-sama is looking for you. Although the word please was used in the words, the strong and cold tone did not mean to invite at all. His right hand began to touch the ninja sword, locking all his movements. If Namikaze Mirai doesn't agree, what awaits him might be a violent storm attack. Lead the way. Namikaze Mirai, look calm. This is a street of Konoha. Although it is evening, there are few pedestrians but fighting here. After all, you can't use your hands and feet. Follow the routes away from the prosperous zone and into a remote forest. Namikaze Mirai glanced around. Where's Danzo? The surrounding routes almost simultaneously pulled out their ninja swords and rushed over. Danzo-sama wants you to meet him underground. Several slender ninja swords reflected the cold light, almost blocking all the space for Namikaze to dodge in the future, and went straight to the vital point, slashing it down fiercely. Namikaze Mirai's face remained normal, and the electromagnetic force moved slightly. To his surprise, the trajectory of the ninja sword was not affected. Don't waste your efforts. This is a ninja tool specially made for you. It does not contain any metal. Ferocious color flashed in the leader's eyes, and the sharp tip of the knife stabbed Namikaze Mirai's neck. They have rehearsed countless times for this mission. There is no metal in the whole body. Even the ninja tools in his hands were made of other materials, specially dyed with a metallic color, in order to paralyze Namikaze Mirai. The picture in front of him suddenly flashed, and the ninja sword stabbed Namikaze Mirai in the root. But there was no response. After image. Before he could react, he only felt a roar coming from behind, and his body seemed to have been hit by a shell, flying upside down like a kite with its string cut off. It broke a thick trunk of a tree, and then broke a big tree behind it. It fell to the ground, and collapsed like plasticine. Bloody, not in human form. Damn. So fast. The rest of the roots saw this scene and their eyelids jumped. Namikaze Mirai was at the base of the blow just now, bathed in lightning, arcs all over his body, and his right leg maintained the kicking position. Even though they had already known the information about Namikaze's extremely fast speed in the future, seeing this scene with their own eyes still shocked the hearts of these people. Kill instantly with one hit, the secret technique of acceleration. Beyond the Thunder Chakra mode, at short and medium distances, it can even compare to time and space capabilities. Change. Formation. The remaining roots distanced themselves and spread apart, giving up the idea of future close combat with Namikaze. The tactic of sneak attacks with non-metallic weapons has become an effective. Namikaze Mirai's speed is enough to turn the tide of any battle. To slow. The voice contained no emotion, as if it came out casually. But it set off a chill in the hearts of these roots. Whoosh. Electromagnetic push. Namikaze Mirai's body seemed to turn into a bolt of lightning, and in a flash of lightning, he appeared in front of a root. The root was forming a seal, and when he saw Namikaze Mirai's cold face breaking into his field of vision, his eyes suddenly changed, and he instinctively pulled away to avoid it. But, bang, in the dull sound that sounded like an object breaking, a huge hole opened in the abdominal cavity of the roots, and the flesh and bones mixed with organs exploded into a rain of blood, staining the forest behind him red. Namikaze Mirai retracted his fist and glanced at the remaining roots. Fire. Escape. Ashes accumulate and burn. Fire. Escape. Fire. Dragon flame. The two root jounin inhaled sharply at the same time, and the time was exactly right, as if they had practiced it countless times. Thick grey-brown smoke was spit out from the mouth of one of the roots, and instantly spread from the woods, wrapping up the Namikaze Mirai in the middle. The dragon-shaped flames on the other side ignited the smoke, and amid the explosion, the burst of fire engulfed Namikaze Mirai's body. The flames gradually dissipated, and the trees in the middle of the forest had disappeared in the explosion. Namikaze Mirai walked out of the flames, bathed in lightning, spotless all around. 4 roots were grouped into os, and golden chains spread out from their palms, crackling and shining. Sealing technique. Namikaze Mirai frowned slightly. Before he had time to think, the remaining roots rushed over and blocked his hiding position from different directions. It's useless. Namikaze Mirai is about to attack. He saw the 4 root jounin rushing towards him, stopping at the 4 corners and forming a seal at the same time. Start. A faint white light suddenly appeared on the ground of the forest, and Namikaze Mirai, who was in the middle, suddenly felt an immense pressure coming on him. It was as if the air around his body turned into a viscous liquid, strangling his limbs and holding him in place. Why do you think the battlefield was chosen here? The leader grinned sneer. Because a sealing barrier has been set up here. You were so arrogant that you followed us here. Your arrogance is what killed you. The 4 held the roots of the chains, seizing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, sprinting in pairs, and the golden chains tightly wrapped Namikaze Mirai. Succeeded. Hokage Tower. After hearing Danzo's plan, the solemn expression on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face did not relax at all. He took a breath. Danzo, you forgot something. What's the matter? Danzo disagreed. His plan was perfect. Covers a variety of situations. He has analyzed the information revealed by Namikaze Mirai in the 3 battles countless times. Admittedly, it would be terrifying to let him use his abilities, all kinds of unimaginable abilities, no limits known at all. However, there is a fatal weakness. Sealing technique. Just seal him before he can exert his abilities. It will completely reduce you to a caged bird. And the root happens to have a similar sealing technique. The 3 years since he disappeared. 3 years of disappearance. Danzo frowned slightly, taking a deep breath from his pipe and exhaling the misty smoke. Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze penetrated the smoke and stopped at the village outside the Hokage's room window. In the past 3 years since he disappeared, I have used a large number of Anbu to search for traces of him, but I have found nothing. The last piece of information I got was, he went to the Kingdom of Wind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Venom? No. ITN-039, S magnetic fluid. Forest Point. The pale golden chains tightly wrapped around Namikaze Mirai's body, wrapping his arms and legs. The whole person seems to be wrapped into a rice dumpling. Airtight. Stop resisting. This is a specially designed sealing method for you. A combination of sealing and enchantment techniques. It's impossible for you to mobilize chakra now. Even if you move your fingers, you can't do it. The Root leader's voice was filled with confidence. Namikaze Mirai is not an ordinary enemy, not the kind of opponent that can be defeated by numbers in the 3 wars. Countless battles have confirmed this. No one knows his limits and this is a very terrifying enemy. So they chose the easy way out. Use targeted sealing techniques to kill his abilities directly from the source point. In this way, no matter what means he has, he will never be able to use them again. Even Namikaze's future has been sealed and reduced to a lamb to be slaughtered. There was still a hint of shock in the eyes of the people around him looking at him. A perfect battle plan, a thorough study of his intelligence, and countless rehearsals in private. He even took advantage of Namikaze's future aloofness to set up a sealing barrier in this forest in advance. But even so, when the battle broke out, it was still as devastating as Jounin level members were brutally killed, leaving no trace of their bodies. What a terrifying enemy this is. Every move of his hands and feet contained suffocating oppression. Fortunately, Lord Danzo is wise. Tactical success. It's all over. Laugh. Disdainful laughter suddenly sounded. Although the sound was not loud, it was extremely harsh in the surrounding ears. Why are you laughing? I don't understand these fundamentals at all, and it's obvious that we have reached this critical moment. Namikaze Mirai is still in the mood to laugh. Is your brain broken? I'm just enjoying your performance. His calm expression did not contain any nervousness or worry, and the slightly raised corners of his mouth made him look slightly happy at the moment. Use the sealing technique to stop my ability. A good idea. In return, let me be a little more serious too. The moment the voice fell, the expressions of the 4 roots that maintained the sealing technique suddenly changed. Sealing. The sealing technique is being corroded? How is that possible? He shouldn't be able to mobilize chakra. Look. What is that? From the gaps in the golden chains that bound Namikaze's future body, silver fluid as thick as tentacles seeped out, corroding and devouring the surrounding chains in a strange manner. Damn. What the hell is this? In a short period of time, the seeping fluid was like a silver snake, swimming along the chain and spreading, and it was already close at hand. The 4 people who maintained the sealing technique felt a strong threat in their roots, and a crisis of death suddenly struck. Their expressions changed drastically, and they retreated violently. But it's too late. The silver fluid turned into silver projectiles and shot out. In an instant, a terrifying attack like a metal storm engulfed the woods. The thick tree was instantly penetrated. The bodies at the base were as fragile as paper. At the sound of flesh and trees being pierced, the sound of metal storms imitated the pitiful screams of roots. Like an elegant symphony, a switch was pressed amidst blood and killing. The roots located far away dodge in horror. Some roots immediately used earth flow walls to resist, but were instantly pierced by the metal storm. Finally. Wait until it stops. Tragic. It was tragic. The 4 roots were wiped out, and there was no time to escape, and no bones were left. The paste like flesh and blood mixed with sawdust was all the proof of their existence. The pale Adam's apple twitched slightly at the roots of those who had been lucky enough to escape. However, they had gone through cruel training and had long since lost their emotions. Looking at this bloody scene, I instinctively felt vomiting in my abdomen and my stomach acid surged. How did this guy do it? It's obviously suppressed by the sealing technique, so it shouldn't be possible to move. Namikaze Mirai looked at them calmly. Maybe it had been too long since he had killed, and there was a smile in his eyes amidst the rustling sounds. Silver projectiles were shot out from the woods, turning into silver water droplets, fading away from the bloodstains, flowing and gathering around his body. The silver fluid was like tentacles surrounding his body, ferocious, squirming, twisting, venom. No, it's magnetic fluid. Magnetic solid particles with a diameter on the order of nanometers are mixed with a carrier fluid to form a stable colloidal fluid. It has the fluidity of liquid and the magnetism of magnetic materials under the influence of Namikaze Mirai's electromagnetic force. This characteristic is brought to its extreme. Normally, these magnetic fluids are hidden under his clothes, forming a layer of high-strength armor under the action of electromagnetic force. Even if you use sensory ninjutsu to detect, you can't detect this armor that is purely made of metal. When fighting, these magnetic fluids will transform into any weapon he wants under the action of electromagnetic force. It is precisely because of this layer of magnetic fluid that Namikaze will be extremely efficient at applying electromagnetic push to itself in the future. At short to medium distances, it can even compare to the secrets of time and space. Called by horrified enemies, blue flash, surrounded by the magnetic fluid tentacles. A hint of sadness suddenly appeared in Namikaze Mirai's blue eyes. The dusty memories in my memory surged out like a flood. 3 years ago, he could not control nano-level magnetic fluid very well. Micron diameter magnet particles are almost his limit. Until that day, Minato, I want to go out for about 3 months. If everything goes well, my abilities will be greatly improved. Really? Kushina's due date is also 3 months later. In this case, you can catch up with Naruto's birth. If you are late, Naruto will deny you as his uncle. Hahaha, I can't wait to see Naruto as an uncle. I haven't hugged him yet. The land of wind. Dragon veins. Looking at the purple ocean, Namikaze Mirai's blue eyes showed surprise. Is this the source of that huge energy? If it can be absorbed, the electromagnetic tree may be upgraded to LV4. 3 months is enough. Namikaze Mirai closed his eyes, and a trace of moisture appeared in the corners of his eyes. He misjudged. Dragon vein contains the ability to disrupt time. He fell into a chaotic time, and when he came back, it was already 3 years later. When he opened his eyes again, the coldness in his eyes seemed to be real. The temperature in the woods suddenly dropped. Being stared at by this gaze, every remaining root in the forest shuddered, and a chill ran down the spine. You guys unfortunately brought back bad memories for me. Chapter 16. Danzo, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Escape. This is the first thought that comes to these roots. The sealing technique has been destroyed. The current Namikaze Mirai is like a tiger breaking free from its restraints. No one knows how terrifying this beast will be, but they can't escape. As a root, Danzang's subordinates have gone through brutal selection. If you escape from battle, you will face a punishment more terrifying than death, knowing that the road ahead will lead to death. We must move forward. This is the fate you must abide by as a root. Distribute the attack. Don't let him seize the opportunity. The captain of the Gen army shouted an order. The terrifying range attack ability displayed by Namikaze in the future. If the positions are too dense, the end may be the same as the previous 4 roots. Only flesh and blood left. The moment he gave the order, these carefully selected elite roots immediately dispersed and rushed to different directions. While they dispersed, they also formed an encircling formation, surrounding Namikaze Mirai in the middle. Nice idea. Looking at the roots that were stable in the face of danger, Namikaze Mirai gave a rare admiration. Have to say, Danzo still has a way of training his subordinates. But silver tentacles surrounding his body began to flow toward his back, centered on the shoulder blades on both sides, flowing outward and converging. Until a certain moment. Wow, a pair of silver wings that cover the sky spread out, flowing with metallic luster. Namikaze Mirai slowly flew up standing high in the sky, like a silver-winged angel point. If it's just a simple flight point, he doesn't need to condense the wings with magnetic fluid at all point. However, this form is more advantageous against certain attacks. Looking at the woods, Namikaze Mirai raised his right index finger slightly and pointed it at a moving root. Jounin point. A tiny silver snake swam out from the cuff, wrapped around the tip of the index finger, and condensed into a small silver ball point. The light blue thunder arc beats point. Boom. The blazing beam of light suddenly erupted, carrying a terrifying power, and shot toward the moving root point. This terrifying attack, modified from the electromagnetic gun, is very similar to the classic move in Dragon Ball Point, demonic light killing cannon. A terrifying crisis came from behind, and a chill ran down the man's spine, and a chill rushed from his spine to the back of his head. Point. As soon as he had the idea of evading, his entire body was instantly pierced by the beam, and the trees on the path were turned into powder. The whole forest suddenly shook. Point. A bottomless pit appeared, with a little smoke rising. Point. The remaining roots around him made his eyelids twitch, and his scalp felt numb. Point. What kind of horrific attack is this? Just one hit. Namikaze Mirai glanced slightly and stopped at the root of a person who was closer. The man who was forming a seal at the root was shocked by the attack just now and froze in place. Point. He waved his right hand and aimed at the root of that person. Point. This time he didn't lift his index finger under the cuffs. A large amount of silver fluid suddenly gushes out, twists and surrounds, and in a very short time condenses into a slender and ferocious blade. Point. Poof. The expression of the person who was forming the seal froze, and his eyes moved down tremblingly. Point. In his abdomen, a ferocious silver blade was penetrating his body. Point. The middle section of the blade is long and slender, like a twisted and ferocious tentacle, and the front end expands, resembling a crescent-shaped sword and axe. Point. It looks like Marvel's Venom Slash. The eyes of the pierced root were full of unwillingness, and he gritted his teeth, as if to say something. Point. The crescent-shaped axe that penetrated his body suddenly split from the middle, split into four, and violently crushed his body. Point. The four smaller slender blades slashed wildly in the woods. The big trees were cut off and then chopped into pieces by subsequent attacks. Like a meat grinder, it grinds everything around it. Point. The two nearby roots had no time to dodge and were chopped off in desperation. Their bodies were cut into pieces of meat and fell off piece by piece. Point. The remaining root was swallowing saliva, his pupils were trembling, and cold sweat had soaked his back. Point. The Namikaze Mirai in the sky was like the representative of the god of death, and that blonde and handsome face was, in their eyes, a more terrifying existence than the devil. Escape. The commander of the root army was unwilling to give the order. Today's Namikaze future is simply not something they can compete with. Point. It is not a pity for them to die, but someone must escape. Point. Bring the information to Danzo-sama. Point. After receiving the order, the remaining roots finally stopped resisting, turned around and fled. Point. They have only one thought in their minds at the moment. Point. The information must be brought to Danzo-sama. Point. Their original intelligence. Point. How wrong. Namikaze Mirai is stronger than 3 years ago. Ah. You finally escaping? I haven't had enough fun yet. Namikaze Mirai in the sky looked at this scene with a hint of regret in his blue eyes. If you don't run away. Point. Maybe I can live a little longer. Pity. His eyes gradually became colder. The setting sun in the sky is like blood, and the setting sun in the west sheds its last afterglow. Point. On the back, the silver wings located near the shoulder blades spread out with a crisp metallic sound. Point. Black shadows fell into forest, and the last rays of the sunset were obscured by the outstretched wings. Amidst the continuous metallic sound, dense silver feathers shot out from the silver wings. Layer after layer, the metal storm swept through the entire forest, and in the chants of blades and strangulation, the screams of the roots were instantly drowned in blood. Point. The forest was chopped into pieces, and there was no intact tree within a radius of several hundred meters around the bare tree roots. Only a small amount of flesh and blood mixed with earth debris can give a glimpse of the life that once existed. Point. The killing is over. The metal storm flew back to Namikaze Mirai's wings and turned into fluid and melted under his clothes, acting like a docile pet. Point. Namikaze Mirai's body slowly fell from the sunset, standing on this bare battlefield. Point. There are 10 root members, 5 are Jounin, and 5 are special Jounin. Point. Total destruction. Only the bloody setting sun was left, reflecting on the side of his face. Point. Spotless Hokage Tower, the Kingdom of Wind. Danzo narrowed his eyes. He didn't understand what Sarutobi Hiruzen meant. This assassination plan has been deduced many times and cannot fail. If nothing unexpected happens, Namikaze Mirai is already a dead man. The root assassination team is taking his body back to the base, and the scientific research ninjas who have been prepared will dissect his body and study his blood. Is that special magnetic escape a mutation of some kind of blood inheritance limit? Or, Danzo-sama, it's not good. A sudden voice interrupted his thoughts. A subordinate of the root appeared in the Hokage room, his voice trembling. This is a Hokage chamber, and there is only one possibility for Genbu to report here. The situation is extremely critical. Danzo had a vague premonition in his heart. What happens? It's blue flash. Before Neeb could finish his words, he saw Danzo suddenly rise up, break through the door of the Hokage's room, and disappear from sight. Forest. The setting sun on the horizon has reached its last moment, and only a scarlet corner remains in the sky. Danzo came over panting. The one eye outside the bandage was trembling slightly. How is it possible? The scene before him shocked his mind crazily. Namikaze Mirai smiled slightly. Danzo, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Chapter 17. Consider these eyes the price for your rude words. Danzo's pupils were trembling. He felt as if his heart was being grasped by a big hand and being squeezed crazily. Out of breath. It felt like there was a huge weight pressing on my chest. There was a storm in my heart. Died. All dead. He prepared carefully and conducted countless drills, and all 10 elite roots he sent died. This forest had been razed to the ground, and the pungent and unpleasant smell of blood mixed with the smell of sawdust and dust entered his mouth and nose. Of these 10 root members, 5 are jounin, and the other 5 are all special jounin who are proficient in sealing techniques rare than ordinary jounin. Such an important amount of power was all wasted. His heart is bleeding. Wave. Wind. Wary. Come. With every word, Danzo's eyes burst out with scarlet bloodshot eyes squeezed out from between his teeth. You wantonly killed your companions in the village with cruel and heinous methods. Do you still have Konoha in your eyes? Anger mixed with unwilling roar came out of Danzo's mouth. This righteous shouting made Namikaze Mirai, who had just finished the killing, couldn't help laughing. What? A big hat? Danzo, you should know best why I'm here and what the purpose of these roots is, right? He was amused by Danzo's shamelessness in terms of hating ability. I, Namikaze Mirai, would like to call you the strongest. HMPH. Just wait here for Hiruzen to come over, and then we can discuss how to deal with you. With his left hand resting on his right arm without leaving any trace, Danzo stood in a defensive posture, with a faint drop of cold sweat falling from his forehead and down his hair. Damn it, you shouldn't have rushed so fast just now. You should wait for Hiruzen to come with you. Facing Namikaze Mirai alone, especially the bloody scene in front of him, crazily impacted his mind. Danzo felt great pressure. To this day, he still can't figure out how Namikaze will break through his carefully prepared sealing technique and kill all the roots in the future. These roots are all carefully selected for his abilities. Danzo, there is something I need to answer from you. The contempt in Namikaze Mirai's blue eyes disappeared, replaced by a faint chill. I heard that during the night of the Ninetales, you were the one who sent Nebu to stop the support of the Uchiha security department. That's right. That's me. Danzo grinned. The appearance of the Sharingan Magatama in the Ninetales pupils is obviously related to the Uchiha clan. I stopped Uchiha from supporting me. You should thank me. Namikaze Mirai's face gradually turned cold. After going to the Uchiha clan, he had basically determined that the Night of the Ninetales had little to do with Uchiha. There was no reason for the Uchiha to do something so stupid. There is another enemy with a kaleidoscope hiding in the darkness. If Fugaku's support had been successful, the outcome might have been different. Danzo didn't seem to notice his expression and continued talking to himself. If I hadn't blocked Uchiha, I don't know how far things would have progressed. Maybe your brother and sister-in-law would have died. Boom. The ground beneath Namikaze Mirai's feet burst open and disappeared. Appearing again, he was already in front of Danzo. The clenched right fist was aimed at Danzo's left eye. Between the fist peaks, 3 silver metal blades poked out, reflecting the sharp cold light. His Adam's apple twitched slightly, and a drop of cold sweat slowly slid down his forehead. Danzo's left eye trembled as he stared at the metal claw, so close at hand point just a little bit, almost. His left eye, the chakra in the body, was running in crisis, and the 3 Megatama Sharingan eye socket of the right eye wrapped with a bandage was already bleeding. Eye's energy is ready to launch at any moment. Danzo sensed the danger of death since leaving the battlefield and hiding behind the scenes. He has not tasted it for a long time. This smell of death. Namikaze Mirai, what do you want to do? The sudden angry sound interrupted Danzo's tense nerves in the air that was almost solidifying. Sarutobi Hiruzen led the Anbu and arrived. The group of people stopped behind Danzo, tensed their minds, and stared at Namikaze Mirai. Some Anbu had even taken out their kunai, and they seemed to be surrounding them, making plans to fight. The Sandaime sent out his roots to kill the ninjas in the village. How should we settle this account? The 3 sharp claws were not withdrawn, but pressed against Danzo's left eye. The sharp aura made Danzo's eye membranes feel stinging. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the bloody battlefield behind Namikaze Mirai, feeling deep uneasiness in his heart. Danzo, that bastard, has caused great trouble again. Just as he guessed, Namikaze is stronger in the future than 3 years ago. No one knows his limits. Danzo acted recklessly and regarded the village's rules as nothing. In the name of the Hokage, I ordered that he be removed from the position of shadow assistant as punishment. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Namikaze Mirai, took a breath, and suppressed the anger in his heart. I don't know if this kind of punishment will satisfy you. This beast is already on the verge of anger, and if it really angers him, the consequences are unimaginable. Scenes from the 3 wars have proven this. Sarutobi Hiruzen scolded Danzo almost to death in his heart. This idiot has obviously reminded me countless times. If Namikaze Mirai is really so easy to deal with, why doesn't he do it himself? When things have reached this point, we can only make a compromise first. Let the beast cease its rage. Sure enough. After he said these words, the coldness in Namikaze Mirai's eyes dissipated a little. The 3 sharp claws that stopped in front of Danzo began to slowly retract. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief. Laugh. My eyes. A line of blood splashed. Danzo covered his left eye and fell to his knees, wailing in pain with a ferocious face. Dark red blood seeped out from between his fingers, quickly staining his entire palm red. Sarutobi Hiruzen clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, and there seemed to be deep anger burning in his eyes. He has already given an point, but the future of Namikaze is still. Consider this the price for your rude words. Danzo, how are you? Sarutobi Hiruzen nervously helped Danzo up, but the latter moved his palm away tremblingly, and the socket of his left eye was already bright red. Hiruzen, I can't see. 3 bloody slashes stretched from the nose to the temple, and the middle one happened to completely cover the left eye. The eye sockets were already bloody. Medical class. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up to the sky and roared. The sun has completely set. The night is getting dark. Naruto sat in front of the window, dragging his chin with one hand, waiting boredly. Click. The door was pushed open. Seeing the person coming in, Naruto rushed over excitedly. Uncle, you are finally back. I thought you were going to break your promise. Namikaze Mirai smiled and messed up Naruto's blonde hair. You hungry? Uncle, we'll cook you dinner. Uncle, we'll definitely do whatever you promise. Naruto. Chapter 18 Shivering Konoha Ref 4. Konoha Hospital. Hemostats. Quick, get ready to suture the wound. The medical ninja in a white coat was sweating profusely. Even though his forehead was soaked with sweat, he did not dare to slow down the movements in his hands, just because the person they heal has a special status tolerance of darkness. Danzo, logically speaking, irrelevant people are not allowed to enter an important place like the operating room. But this time it was different. Nearly 10 people wearing masks surrounded the operating room, wearing uniform equipment, and carrying ninja swords. As cold as machines under this pressure, several medical ninjas who were performing operations did not dare to slack off at all. He was afraid that in the next second, the ninja swords at these roots would strike him. Sir, there is something I must inform you. The medical ninja who performed the surgery swallowed his saliva and looked tremblingly at Danzo lying on the operating bed. The pale light of the shadowless lamp shone on the man's injured face, making his already ferocious face look even more terrifying at the moment. "What's up, Danzo?" spoke gloomily. The left eye was seriously injured, and almost all vision was lost. The Sharingan in the orbit of the right eye was wrapped in a thick bandage, and could not see objects at this moment. He can only perceive the outside world through touch and hearing. "Your left eyeball needs to be removed." There was a tremor in the medical ninja's voice. The other medical ninjas around did not dare to take a breath. Most of them had heard about the deeds of the man in front of them, his roots buried deep in the ground, and his hands stained with an unknown amount of blood. Amidst the fear, I couldn't help but feel a little curious what kind of terrifying enemy could hurt this man like this, but that's not what they need to think about now. If they cannot satisfy this man, they will end badly. "What do you mean? Are you saying that Danzo-sama is going to become blind? You bastard. You can't even cure me, so what's the use of you?" The medical ninja shivered under the pressure of the root, but Danzo's eyeball was completely damaged, and there was no possibility of repair. Listening to his subordinates scolding, although Danzo's expression did not change at all, his fingers that were gripping the bedboard turned white from excessive exertion. He is blind. Completely blind. Since he lost his right eye in the war more than 10 years ago, now, he has also lost his left eye, although it can be transplanted. But that humiliation, the humiliation of being played with, teased, and tortured, it has been deeply imprinted on his body. How long has it been? How long has it been since I felt such humiliation? In the future of Namikaze, I and you are at odds with each other. Hokage room. Different from the past, the atmosphere in the Hokage room today was unusually heavy. In the deathly depression, the air was like solidification, making Xianachan and others unable to breathe. "He's better than he was 3 years ago." There was a hint of dryness in Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice. After Namikaze Mirai left, he sent Anbu to explore the battlefield, and the information he got made him palpitate. 5 of the 10 Genbu are Jounin, and the other 5 are special Jounin who are proficient in sealing techniques. It's such a great force. Total destruction, no bones left. Most of the best preserved one was blown to pieces, leaving only a small section of the body. What frightened Hiruzen Sarutobi the most was after doing all this, there wasn't even a trace of dust on Namikaze Mirai's clothes. They were as clean as new. It's like doing it casually. It took no effort. He might have been able to do this 3 years ago, but it would never have been so easy. What happened in the past 3 years that made his strength improve tremendously? "Hiruzen, how is Danzo doing?" Xianachan asked worriedly as he went to bed. As soon as she and Mito Kadoyan learned about this incident, they rushed to the Hokage tower in a hurry. They don't yet understand Danzo's current situation. All he knew was that he was seriously injured and was being treated at Konoha hospital. The eyeball of the left eye has been completely necrotic and has no therapeutic value, so it can only be removed. When saying this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's tone was quite complicated. On the one hand, he was angry at Danzo's recklessness. If he hadn't insisted on his own way, things would never have gotten to this point. Danzo, on the other hand, is blind in both eyes. One eye was already bandaged, and now the other eye was bandaged as well. His whole body was covered with thick bandages from the bridge of his nose upwards. Fortunately, with the unremitting efforts of the Roots still found a suitable transplant source. A certain civilian's eyeballs fit Danzo's under the guidance of Ichiban Fire's will. The civilian was deeply moved and lamented that Danzo dedicated his whole life to Konoha and was willing to offer his eyeballs in this regard. Sarutobi Hiruzen could only turn a blind eye. After all, if he didn't turn a blind eye, Danzo would have to close his eyes forever. This Namikaze Mirai. He is Minato's younger brother after all, but he actually dealt such a heavy hand. After hearing what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, Yan spoke angrily. Even when Namikaze Minato was the Hokage, he never did such excessive behavior. Namikaze Mirai's move did not take them seriously at all. The top priority is not Danzo's injury, but how to deal with Namikaze in the future. Xianachan looked gloomy when he went to bed. That guy's personality is completely different from Minato. Now that Minato and Kushina are dead, if he really makes a fuss, he will be in trouble. He held his forehead with 2 fingers, and pressed his temple with his index finger on the other hand. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt like he had a splitting headache, as if he had inserted a chopstick into it and stirred it hard. As soon as Namikaze Mirai came back, many things went wrong. He always thought that I had treated Naruto badly. If I ask myself, I have done my best for Minato's surviving son and I have never treated him badly in terms of living expenses. As for Minato's legacy, the village needs to be rebuilt. If this part of the legacy is used for the village, Minato Underground will be happy to know that. I just didn't expect that he would hold a grudge against me for this. The 3 fell into silence again. The Hokage room fell silent. 3 years ago, when Namikaze Mirai was not missing, he often used Minato's power to suppress them. The relationship between Namikaze Mirai and Minato. It's like the relationship between Danzo and Hiruzen Sarutobi. The only difference is that as a biological brother, Minato is much closer to Mirai. Dialogues such as Hiruzen, "You will regret it. Danzo, I'm the Hokage," did not appear between the 2 of them. The door to the Hokage's room was not replaced so frequently. When the news of Namikaze Mirai's disappearance came, they all secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Without this difficult brother, Minato may not be their opponent in the struggle for power. I just didn't expect that the Ninetales rebellion would break out a few months later. Minato is gone too. Based on my understanding of Danzo, he may not give up after he recovers from his injury. Hiruzen, get ready. A storm is coming, Zaichan said sincerely after turning to bed. Chapter 19. I have an electromagnetic tree. The dim light makes it eerie even during the day. In the solemn air, one can vaguely see masked ninjas walking around like machines without any emotion. The medical ninja tremblingly removed the bandage on Danzo's face, and the white bandages were untied and fell to the ground. Throughout the whole process, Danzo's gloomy face was expressionless and terrifying. Finally, all the bandages were removed. Grown ups taking out a mirror. The medical ninja had a dry Adam's apple and the hand he handed to Danzo was a little unsteady. He didn't know how Danzo would react when he saw his current appearance. Looking towards the handed mirror, a familiar yet unfamiliar face was reflected in it. On the gloomy face, there are 3 ferocious centipede-like scars extending from the lower end of the left nose to the temple, covering most of the face. The orbit of his left eye was also covered by scars, and even his eyebrows were cut off by scars, leaving a large section missing. That dark brown eyeball looked a little weird under such a face. Danzo's hand holding the frame was shaking slightly. His teeth were clenched uncontrollably. Scarlet blood streaks burst out of the eyeballs. If it were not for the transplantation of civilian eyeballs, he would have completely lost vision in his left eye. His face became increasingly distorted. Wow. The mirror in his hand was thrown violently. The broken lenses exploded on the wall, and each fragment seemed to reflect his ugly and twisted face. Namikaze Mirai, I will never just let this grudge go. Dada. The kitchen knife expertly cuts the cucumber on the cutting board, and the thickness of each slice is very even, with almost no deviation. This exquisite knife skill would put any chef to shame. But no one was holding the handle of the kitchen knife. It was almost hanging in the air, dancing freely on the chopping board. The same scene happened elsewhere. The knife accurately peeled off the skin of the onion. The meat cleaver cut off the meat piece by piece, and the metal faucet opened by itself, rinsing the vegetables in the basket. Sure enough, using electromagnetic power to cook is convenient. Namikaze Mirai, standing in the middle of the kitchen, looked at this scene and smiled with satisfaction. In addition to being used to cos Magneto, electromagnetic force can also be used to be the god of cooking. Of course, he himself was not idle either. Behind the back, the magnetic fluid condenses into 4 metal arms. One stirs the wooden spoon, while the others light the fire and stir fry. The division of labor and cooperation are intimate. This amazing scene resembles Dr. Octopus in the Spider-Man movie. Namikaze Mirai, whose electromagnetic power level is LV4, can multitask, and it is not difficult to use electromagnetic power to accomplish things of this level. In his mind, there is an electromagnetic tree that blocks out the sky and the sun. This tree is not a tree in the broadest sense, more like A big tree formed by the convergence of data flows in the quantum realm point. Whenever Namikaze develops new electromagnetic abilities in the future, this big tree will grow new leaves and become more lush. However, there is an upper limit to this exuberance point within a level. There is an upper limit to the electromagnetic power that Namikaze can develop in the future. For example, when Namikaze Mirai is at electromagnetic force level LV1, he can only master basic abilities such as discharge and magnetization. Being a basic version of thunder escape, or a weakened magnetic escape. Blood succession limit is quite reluctant. By the time he reaches LV2, his ability to discharge and magnetize has been strengthened so much that he can shoot an electromagnetic gun with just a flick. High voltage current was also at his fingertips. During the 3 battles, countless ninjas were subjected to electrotherapy by him. At LV3, eddy current electromagnetic gun, simple Gundam, electric current push. There are countless abilities developed. In 3 battles, he won the name of Blue Flash and Minato's Yellow Flash. Also known as Konoha's Color Flash. In the battle with Majijutsu Rasa, Namikaze Mirai reversely controlled Rasa's placer gold, which made Rasa doubt his life and even the fake Majijutsu he had cultivated. 3 years ago, Minato had just become Hokage, and the village had stabilized. Unknown to the subsequent plot, he went to the Kingdom of Wind to absorb the dragon's veins. At that time, he estimated that it would only take 3 months to complete the absorption, enough to catch up with Naruto's birth. Unexpectedly, dragon veins contain the ability to disrupt time. However, during the 3 years since he disappeared, his electromagnetic power has been successfully upgraded to LV4, and his abilities have improved. Again, able to split metal into nano-level magnetic fluid, achieving some incredible ability. Regarding upgrading to LV5, Namikaze Mirai has 2 ideas. One is the natural force of the ninja world. This is a terrifyingly majestic energy. Minato's teacher, Jiraiya, had mastered Sage Mode, and he was no stranger to the power of nature. It's just that I don't have the opportunity to learn. If the natural power of the ninja world can be absorbed into the electromagnetic tree in the future, maybe it can be upgraded to LV5. The second one is the tail beast. Every tail beast contains terrifying chakra. If it can absorb the tail beast's energy, it might also be able to upgrade the electromagnetic tree. It's just that Namikaze Mirai has not tried this method yet. With the help of electromagnetic power, the meal was quickly prepared. Looking at the delicious food on the table, Namikaze wiped his hands with his apron with satisfaction. Just wait until Naruto comes back. That kid went to find Sasuke. Counting the time, it's time to come back. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the door was pushed open, and it was Naruto. Just as Namikaze Mirai wanted to invite Naruto to eat, he saw that Naruto seemed to be a little depressed, with his head lowered, and lost his mind. Uncle, I'm not hungry. Let's go upstairs and rest first. The smile on Namikaze Mirai's face froze. Ever since he returned to the village, it had been a long time since he had seen Naruto look so lost. It was as if all the energy in the body had been drained. Become a zombie. He had seen Naruto like that before, when he had just returned to the village and Naruto was being bullied by the entire village. But since his return, Naruto's condition has improved a lot. That kind of dejection and despair has not appeared for a long time. What happened to cause such a big change in Naruto's state? Namikaze Mirai narrowed his eyes slightly. He felt this was not normal. Open the door and come to the yard outside. He shouted to the crooked-neck tree in the courtyard. Kakashi. The big branch and leaves shook a few times, and a white-haired man wearing a cat face mask sprang out. Brother. Future, look for me. It was Kakashi. He was under orders from Sarutobi Hiruzen to spy on Naruto. Namikaze Mirai knew this very well. He just turned a blind eye for Minato's sake. Naruto's condition is not quite right. You have been secretly observing Naruto to see if there is anything wrong. Namikaze Mirai asked the question in his heart. After hearing Namikaze Mirai's words, Kakashi's expression suddenly became heavy. A pair of grey-brown eyes also dimmed. Real Namikaze Mirai was shocked. He knew something was wrong. Kakashi hesitated to speak, but finally sighed. Brother. Future, maybe you should go to the village and take a look. Chapter 20 Rumors? Do you want the tragedy of White Fang to happen again? Go to the village and have a look. Hearing Kakishi's words, Namikaze Mirai's expression became solemn. What happened in the village? He has been staying at home these past few days and has not gone out. He turned his head and looked at Konoha village outside the courtyard. The world in the field of vision changes, like countless twisted lines connecting the entire world. In these lines, you can see a large number of individuals with different shapes radiating outward. Biomagnetic field. Namikaze Mirai's unique perception ability. When the roots surrounded him before, it was because of his ability to perceive the biomagnetic field that he discovered the opponent in advance. There are many strange biological magnetic fields nearby. Namikaze Mirai's eyes became more solemn. It seems necessary to find out what happened. Konoha streets. The villagers gathered around the entrance of the alley were chatting away, their brows and eyes full of disgust. That demon fox, why don't you die? That's right. He was the one who killed the Yondaime couple. There are so many villagers, and the third Hokage actually tolerates this kind of demon fox staying in Konoha. If I were that demon fox, I would be so ashamed that I would commit suicide directly to avoid suffering so many looks. There were endless filthy words and curses, as if he wanted to vent all the disgust in his heart. The greatest evil in human nature is clearly visible at this moment. But they didn't notice that a figure slowly walked past them. The fruit vendors picked out the rotten fruits in the shop and threw them into the trash can with disgust on their faces. It's all because of that demon fox that my fruits have rotten so much recently. It's really unlucky. That's right. When will that demon fox die? The same scene happened almost on the entire street. Every few steps you take, you can hear all kinds of curses on the demon fox. Vitriolic. Namikaze Mirai walked by without saying a word. He used the transformation technique to become a different person, as if he was just an unrelated passerby. But those hands couldn't help but clenched tightly. He finally understood what was wrong with Naruto. He raised his head and looked at the village in front of him. The midday sun was warm and comfortable, but he felt a bone-crushing chill. Countless twisted malices, like dense black air, rose from the sky above the village with claws and fangs, converging into a ferocious smiling face. Aha! Kakashi jumped down from a nearby tree. Before he could speak, he heard a chilling voice. When did it start? Kakashi's expression stiffened slightly. He immediately calmed down his expression. Based on his understanding of Namikaze's future, he knew that this time he was really angry. It was probably the day before yesterday. At that time, it was just a small-scale rumor. Starting yesterday, it became more and more intense. As of today, almost the entire village, Kakashi, did not continue. Although there have always been rumors about Naruto being a demon fox, they have never evolved as violently as they do today. This scene brought back memories buried deep in his memory. That past, that I don't want to be touched. Namikaze Mirai's eyes gradually narrowed. If there was no one behind such a large-scale rumor, he wouldn't believe it even to death. This similar scene reminded him of a past event a long time ago. Hatake Tsukumo, Kakashi's father, Konoha White Fang. That was a ninja that even the Senna needed to respect. But after a mission failed, he was spurned by almost the entire village. Faced with such pressure, Hatake Saku's faith collapsed, and he took his own life with the White Fang dagger he had used to kill countless enemies. The situation that time was very similar to this time. It seems that there is an invisible big hand behind the scenes, fueling the flames and secretly guiding the direction of public opinion. Namikaze Mirai is well aware of the power of this kind of public opinion. As a social animal in his previous life, he has seen many cases of suicides caused by online violence. This kind of bullying by an entire village is even more terrifying than online violence. On the way back, Namikaze Mirai's eyes were cold. Someone who has the ability to guide the public opinion of the villagers and can benefit from this matter. There seems to be only one demon fox. Go to hell. A sudden curse interrupted his thoughts. Looking around, he saw 4 or 5 children holding rocks and smashing them against the window of Naruto's room. Bang. The glass of the window was shattered. Stones flew into the room, causing the items inside to clang. Where did this kid come from? Kakashi scolded and rushed forward. Run. The Children who were throwing stones a second ago were so frightened that they immediately dropped the stones in their hands and dispersed. Namikaze Mirai did not choose to tangle with those brats and quickly rushed to Naruto's room on the second floor. Opening the door, the room was already in a mess with stones thrown at it and cold wind poured in from the broken windows. Naruto huddled in the corner of the bed, covering himself with the quilt, only exposing his golden hair. Namikaze Mirai stretched out his hand point. As soon as his fingertips touched Naruto's hair, the latter's body trembled, and he curled up deeper into the bed. Don't hit me, I'm not a demon fox. Namikaze Mirai's fingers stopped in the air, and the tip of his nose was slightly sore. Then, he covered it gently and stroked Naruto's blonde hair. Naruto, it's me, uncle. Naruto poked his head out of the quilt. His eyes were red and swollen. It was obvious that he had cried a lot. I really a demon fox? He raised his head, his pure blue eyes filled with longing and grievance. Why does everyone call me the demon fox? What did I do wrong? Namikaze Mirai gently messed up his blonde hair. Silly nephew, of course you are no longer a demon fox. Uncle will prove it to you. Almost at the same time, in a hidden alley, the two root members knelt on one knee and reported to the figure in the shadow. Lord Danzo, according to your instructions, everything has been done. The face in the shadow slowly lifted up, its sinister smile making the scar-covered left face look even more ferocious. Well done. He was the one who figured out the best way to get revenge by using public opinion to attack Naruto. Namikaze will be strong in the future, and using force will most likely lead to the same result as last time. Public opinion is different. As long as you grasp the weak point, it becomes very simple to deal with a person. And Naruto is Namikaze Mirai's weakness. Setting off a storm of public opinion is something Danzo and Nebu are already familiar with. That afternoon many years ago, he used the same method to force Hatake Tsukumo to death. Now, it's just a repeat. The smile on Danzo's ugly face became more and more sinister now. Just wait for the results. Being at the center of a public opinion storm, what will Namikaze do in the future? Sir, there's a situation. A sudden report interrupted his thoughts. What? Has Namikaze made any moves in the future? No, it's such a Chapter 21 sees the future in an instant. This money is so profitable. Just scold the demon fox and you can get 5,000 teals. Hahaha. Even if I don't have any money, I will scold the demon fox. I wonder if that masked ninja will fulfill his promise. The masked, cold and machine-like ninja came to mind, and the civilians shuddered in unison. That guy's definitely a terrifying ninja. Probably not. We have completed the task, so they should not refuse to pay us. The leading civilian thought for a while. If he guessed correctly, the other party should come from a very terrorist organization in the village. There is no need for such an organization to deceive them for such a small reward. While they were talking, they saw several black shadows coming out, one after another, blocking them in the middle. Spread rumors wantonly and disrupt the order of the village. Come with us to Konoha prison. He had a messy hedgehog head, a serious face, and a pair of eyes that narrowed directly. Ah, you kidding? We didn't do anything. There are so many people scolding demon foxes. Why are they only arresting a few of us? That's right. Why only a few of us are arrested? Several civilians recognized each other's identity. Uchiha Security Department. However, there is still a trace of luck in my heart. After all, the people who recruited them to spread rumors were not ordinary ninjas. You dare to quibble? Go to Konoha prison. After a rough capture, these civilians were pressed to the ground, unable to move. I was wrong. Spare us. Only then did these civilians realize that they had offended the wrong person, and they cried bitterly and begged for mercy. Uchiha, who was called a madman, was not like that young demon fox. They really know how to beat people. Stop. A few whooshing sounds. Several roots suddenly appeared, surrounding Uchiha and civilians. When the captured civilians saw the sudden appearance of the roots, they cried for help, as if they had grabbed a savior. Sir, help us. We don't want to be taken to Konoha prison. The two Uchiha glanced at the surrounding roots. Even though the opponent was outnumbered, they showed no fear at all. Why? When did Genbu have the right to interfere with the security department's affairs? The tone was a little tricky, even provocative. Point as an Uchiha. What I hate the most is Danzo and the roots under his command. Point. These guys are thinking about how to target Uchiha all the time. Snap. Snap. The dull sound of tapping on the stone slabs was getting closer and closer, and in the shadow of the alley, a figure on crutches gradually emerged. The face covered with scars looked hideous and terrifying in the shadows. Lord Danzo. The four roots knelt down on one knee at the same time, speaking respectfully. The root has no right to control, so do I have the right to control it? Danzo simply ignored those roots and stared at the Uchiha in front of him with a pair of sinister eyes under the scar. Faced with this terrifying sense of oppression, even the always unruly Uchiha clan members couldn't help but become nervous. The oppression brought by Danzo was too great. It's not like ordinary Uchiha people like them can bear it alone. The air that was so suppressed that it almost solidified suddenly broke through the oppression with a sudden voice. Danzo, do you want to step in as my people perform their duties? When the two surrounded Uchiha heard this voice, their eyes suddenly lit up, and they looked back in surprise. Elder Setsuna Danzo narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at the slowly approaching figure. The same cane, the same old wrinkled face, but the difference is, those dark eyes exuded a hawkishness that did not match his age. Uchiha Setsuna, among the Uchiha clan, the Hawk Elder is second only to Fugaku. Danzo, these people are maliciously spreading rumors and disrupting the order of the village. In order to maintain the security of Konoha, I, the Uchiha guards, took this person back for questioning. Is there any problem? The voice was neither humble nor arrogant, and even had a hint of persecution. But that's it. Danzo didn't speak. If there were only these two Uchiha, he could overwhelm them and take a few people away by force. However, Uchiha Setsuna came. Things are different. This hawkish elder has terrifyingly high qualifications, claiming to have inherited Uchiha Madara's will. He once planned a coup during the reign of the second generation Senju Tobirama. Although the matter was exposed, he was arrested and imprisoned. But his ambition has not been worn away, and it has been dormant to this day. Two old men with sticks, whose combined age exceeds 120 years, faced each other at the entrance of this dark alley. Finally, Danzo turned around and started walking away with his cane. Uchiha Setsuna has a special status, representing almost the entire Uchiha Hawks. Now is not the time to break up. Snort. The curse seals should have been placed on those civilians from the beginning. Once the mission is completed, there is not so much to kill directly. However, even if Uchiha tortured and found out that the roots were guiding him, it would have no effect. Uchiha are inherently evil. Their words simply cannot be trusted. Hiruzen would know how to choose. Seeing Danzo leaving, several roots also disappeared with a whoosh, and they immediately followed him. The civilians controlled by Uchiha were instantly as hen-eyed. Danzo left. They were going to fall into the hands of these crazy Uchihas. What will happen? But what they don't know is that if they fall into Danzo's hands, their fate will only be worse. Maybe there won't even be any bones. Satsuna-sama, why should we help that person? After hesitating for a moment, the Uchiha who was following Setsuna Uchiha considered his words and finally asked this question. Although the other party's name was not directly specified. But several people present knew the other party's identity. Namikaze Mirai. Danzo stirred up public opinion precisely because he wanted to deal with Namikaze Mirai. The purpose of Uchiha Setsuna's arrest of these civilians who spread rumors was also to help Namikaze in the future. It was a silent confrontation. A competition between two major forces surrounding the future of Namikaze. However, these Uchiha people couldn't understand why the always arrogant Setsuna elder would personally help Namikaze Mirai. Uchiha and Namikaze Mirai don't seem to have much overlap, right? You don't understand, Uchiha. Setsuna's dark eyes were deep. That guy is definitely not as simple as he seems. If we can cooperate with him, maybe the plight of the Uchiha clan over the years can really be changed. Since the last time Namikaze Mirai went to the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Setsuna immediately looked at him with admiration. Not long ago, Namikaze Mirai fought against the roots under Danzo's command. The location of the battlefield was not far from the Uchiha clan. He sent his clansmen to investigate, and the information he got surprised him even more. Namikaze Mirai is stronger than 3 years ago. This conclusion surprised and delighted him. That weak guy Fugaku was still hesitating. As a hawk, he will never give up, as long as he sees a chance. Mirai Namikaze has shown his worth. He also has to respond. He wants to seize the future with his own hands. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22. Sarutobi Hiruzen is confused. Want to drive the demon fox out of Konoha? Uncle, where are we going? On the streets of Konoha, Naruto held Namikaze Mirai's hand and huddled behind him nervously. He didn't know why his uncle wanted to take him out. Obviously these villagers, the sapphire blue eyes were like soaked coals, dimming in an instant. Namikaze Mirai rubbed Naruto's hair with some distress. His voice was gentle. My dear nephew, you are not a demon fox at all. Uncle will prove it to you. Really, really. Naruto raised his head, a glimmer of hope flashing in his grey eyes. Ever since he was born, the name Demon Fox seems to have been with him. No matter where he goes, people call him a Demon Fox because he killed the Yondaime couple, but he didn't know the Yondaime Hokage at all. I don't know how I killed them. Now, the uncle says he will prove that he is not a Demon Fox. What method will he use? Naruto thought timidly in his heart. Among the pedestrians on the street, some recognized Naruto and raised their hands to point at him angrily. It's a demon fox. The moment his voice came, the surrounding villagers immediately turned their attention. His face suddenly turned disgusting. It's indeed a demon fox. I didn't expect him to dare to come out. HMPH. He was the one who killed the Yondaime and his wife, and so many villagers. Naruto listened to the hateful voices of the surrounding villagers, and his eyes that had just brightened dimmed again in an instant. Did I kill so many people? I'm the one to blame for all this. Maybe I shouldn't live at all. The inner pain and self-blame surged up like a tide, swallowing up Naruto's fragile heart in an instant. Suddenly, a gentle force came from my shoulders. Nephew, don't listen to those people. You are not a demon fox. Naruto raised his head and saw the gentle smiling face of Namikaze Mirai. In the eyes of those smiling faces, he saw expectations and kindness that he had never seen before. Yes, uncle, he nodded, feeling strong again in his heart. Namikaze Mirai turned around and glanced around at the disgusted villagers with cold eyes. If I hear the word demon fox again, don't blame me for being rude. The sound was not loud, but the oppression it contained was like a heavy mountain, covering these villagers in an instant. Not just simple coercion, but also using electromagnetic force to control air attraction and compress air density. This pressure becomes even more terrifying. Almost can't breathe. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads, and their pale Adam's apple twitched slightly. The villagers made way for themselves, allowing Namikaze Mirai to lead Naruto through the middle. No one dared to speak, and the air was deathly silent. Naruto held Namikaze Mirai's hand and followed him through the street quietly. It wasn't until they left that the oppressive feeling lingering in the sky disappeared. That guy is so domineering. Do they still have a village in their eyes? We must not allow such a guy to harm the village. We must report it to the Hokage. Yes. Go find the Sandaime Hokage. There are so many of us. Are we still afraid of him? Drive the demon fox out of the village. The bustling and noisy crowd and the cowering look just now made them feel blushing and ashamed. This shame was also imposed on the demon fox. They want to find the Hokage and drive Naruto out of Konoha. In the beginning, it was just the street. Later, the huge crowd affected other villagers more, and more villagers joined them. They shouted slogans indignantly. Demon Fox, get out of Konoha. Demon Fox, get out of Konoha. The momentum is huge. The gathered curses reached the ears of Naruto in front. He paused, tears in his eyes. Uncle, all the villagers in Konoha wanted him to leave the village. Namikaze Mirai knelt down and rubbed Naruto's blonde hair. Don't worry, Naruto is not a demon fox. Just follow me. Naruto nodded point, but the loud voice behind him still affected him point. He pursed his lips, trying not to let the tears fall from his eyes. Uncle said that a good child should not just cry point, have the courage to face everything. Danzo-sama, there is a problem in the village. In the dark alley, Danzo narrowed his one eye slightly when he heard the report from his subordinates. What happens? It's the demon fox. The development of the matter is a bit unexpected. Now the villagers are in high spirits. They have united to protest at the Hokage Tower and let the Sandaime drive the demon fox out of Konoha. What? Danzo's heart trembled. How did things develop like this? If all the villagers get into trouble, things will not end well. Those villagers may not know it, but he knows it very well. Naruto is not a demon fox at all, but the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, Konoha village's most important war weapon. With such an important resource, Hiruzen could not and would never drive him out of the village. If ninjas from other villages find out, they may take Naruto away at all costs. Damn. What's going on? Wasn't it planned to just lead public opinion to suppress? Why did it turn into a parade? Danzo gritted his teeth point. He punched the wall next to him unwillingly point. If the matter is such a big deal, if Hiruzen really takes the blame point, it doesn't end well for him either. Yes, it's Namikaze Mirai. There was a tremor in the voice of the report. He walked around the village with the demon fox, and it seemed that he was deliberately stimulating conflicts among the villagers. Namikaze Mirai, it's you again. Danzo's eyes turned red for a moment. Uchiha Security Department. Hit. Higher. Let's all do it. Do not hit me. The few villagers who were brought back were so frightened that before they could be tortured by the Uchiha tribe, they all talked out loud. Point what routes find them. Point how much money was given and what lines should be said. Point no reservations. Sure enough, what I guessed is right. Uchiha Setsuna's eyes narrowed slightly. Point this storm of public opinion came so strangely that if no one was behind it, I wouldn't believe it. Even if I beat him to death. Point the White Fang incident more than 10 years ago seems to be the same. Just as he was thinking, Satsuna-sama, something happened. The Uchiha came in to report. What's up? All the villagers are in trouble and want to find the Hokage to expel Naruto. What? Drive away the demon fox. Demon fox get out of Konoha. Drive away the demon fox. The parade of villagers grew stronger and louder, and the sound became louder and louder. The sound gathered in the sky above Konoha and exploded from the sky above the entire Konoha. Point when Kakashi on the branch saw this scene, he felt like his head was getting bigger. A splitting headache. Why did it happen like this? We must inform the Hokage immediately. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was dealing with official duties, froze in place, as if he was petrified after hearing Kakashi's report. Point snap, the cigarette holder in his mouth fell off. Chapter 23. Naruto is the son of a hero. What the hell? Villagers marching. The purpose of the parade was to drive the Jinchuriki out of Konoha. What a joke. If he really drives the nine-tailed Jinchuriki out of Konoha, Senjuta Beruma will crawl out of the grave and strangle him. Rolling and crawling, Sarutobi Hiruzen turned to look at the village outside the window of the Hokage's room. He vaguely seemed to see a dark crowd in the distance, rushing towards this direction. Point phrases such as demon fox and get out of Konoha also faintly entered his ears. Ruined. It is true. He collapsed on the seat in exhaustion, sweating all over his body. Point like being fished out of water. Danzo, you bastard. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes turned red for a moment. Point there is no doubt that this is Danzo's fault. Now, how can it end? Uncle Naruto held Namikaze Mirai's hand tighter, and his palms were sweaty due to nervousness behind him. A huge team of hundreds of villagers shouted with the same hatred. Demon fox get out of Konoha. He suffered a lot of bullying, and when he walked on the road, children of his own age would throw stones at him. Point the void in his heart was like a huge black hole, swallowing up all his energy. Point all day long, I felt like a zombie. Point sitting alone on the swing, silently watching the children of the same age. Point however, even those were far less than the bullying this time. Point almost all the villagers in the village gathered to drive him out of Konoha. Point he didn't understand what he had done wrong. Why do I have to endure the cold looks and malice from everyone wherever I go? Why are these adults pouring out all their malice on him? Point with gentle caress from the top of his head brought his thoughts back from the pain. Don't be afraid, there's still uncle here. Even If the whole world stands opposite you, Uncle will stand unswervingly in front of you. Naruto's fingers trembled slightly. He wiped the tears from his eyes and forced a smile. Well, I'm not afraid. Yes, there is also an uncle. Even if everyone hates me, I still have my uncle behind me. Thinking about it this way, Naruto seemed to feel that the cursing villagers around him were not so annoying anymore. The outline of the Hokage Tower came into view. There was already a large group of villagers gathered there, eager to rush in with excitement. The Anbu were maintaining order. Several masked Anbu were sweating profusely, blocking the crowd who wanted to rush in. Please, don't get excited. Hokage-sama will be here soon. This is the Hokage building. Please maintain order. Kakashi was also among those Anbu, and his silver hair was particularly conspicuous, but it was obviously difficult to cope with the chaotic crowd, and he was a little in a hurry. The Hokage is here. Someone in the crowd arched, and then all the people started to squeeze towards the entrance of the Hokage building. The pressure on the blocking Anbu increased instantly, and they were almost crushed under their feet. Sarutobi Hiruzen walked out of the entrance accompanied by Anbu, and looked at the excited crowd, feeling extremely stressed for a moment. I scolded Danzo half to death in my heart. Bastard Danzo. He asked me to wipe his ass for the trouble he caused. In order to cope with this scene, he specially put on the formal Hokage robe, and brought the Hokage hat. But now it seems that it may not have much effect. Before he could speak, the crowd began to commotion. Hokage-sama, please drive the demon fox out of Konoha. Yes, and his nasty uncle, relying on his strength to do evil. Many villagers have been threatened by him. Please be sure to drive him away too. That's right. Drive away the demon fox and his bastard uncle. In front of the Hokage Tower, Naruto held Namikaze Mirai's hand tighter, lowered his head, and pursed his lips silently. Their location was the only open space among the crowd, and all the villagers kept their distance from them, with disgust in their eyes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's scalp was numb. He took a deep breath, and used chakra to diffuse the sound. Everyone, please calm down. If you believe me, the Sandaime Hokage, please leave this matter to me, and I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. This deeply touching speech had immediate results. The turmoil of the crowd began to subside. The strange sounds also began to diminish. We naturally believe what Hokage-sama says. Well, Hokage-sama will definitely not let the demon fox and his bastard uncle do whatever they want. He was the one who killed the Yondaime-sama. Namikaze Mirai sneered. He was amused by the group. Naruto was the murderer of Minato. If his brother was resurrected and saw these words of the villagers he saved with his life, what expression would he make? Laugh. The demon fox's bastard uncle is actually laughing. This obvious action was caught by the surrounding villagers, and their eyes instantly became angry. Has this guy figured out the situation? Hey, what are you laughing at? Lord Hokage is here. Do you still think you can do whatever you want? That's right. The demon fox should die. People related to the demon fox should also die. The demon fox's uncle, his parents, they all should die. Speaking of the fact that a demon fox can be born, his parents are not good people, right? Hearing these unpleasant curses, Naruto's body trembled, and his whole body seemed to have been drained of his soul in an instant, and all color was lost in his eyes. He couldn't forgive himself. Let uncle also suffer the curse. There are also parents whom I have never met. Namikaze Mirai's eyes gradually became colder, and he stared at the villager who had made the rude remarks just now, with a half smile on his lips. Do you really know who Naruto's parents are? The parents of the demon fox? I don't care who the parents of the demon fox are. If they can give birth to a demon fox, they must not be good people. That is, the smile on Namikaze Mirai's lips deepened, but when that half-smiling smile fell into Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, his expression suddenly changed. Future. Naruto's identity is special, and cannot be exposed yet. If Minato's enemies find out, he will be in danger. As long as I'm here, Naruto will never be in danger. Namikaze Mirai gave him a cold look. He slowly scanned the surrounding villagers, and all the villagers caught in his sight trembled in their hearts. You have been cursing that it was Naruto who killed the Yondaime Hokage, but do you know Naruto's true identity? Enough. Future. Sarutobi Hiruzen scolded and stopped him. The Demon Fox you call, his true identity is, that's enough. Naruto's identity cannot be revealed yet. Namikaze Mirai took a deep breath. The sound was like thunder, resounding throughout the Hokage building. Naruto's biological parents are exactly the Yondaime couple you call them. He was never a demon fox. He is the son of a hero. Chapter 24. Let the son of a hero be bullied. What crime do you deserve? Sarutobi? Dead silence. Deathly silence. The air in the entire Hokage building was as dead as ice. Countless villagers looked shocked and in disbelief. The demon fox is the son of the 4th generation Hokage. How is this possible? The Yondaime Hokage is a hero who saved the entire village. How can the demon fox be his son? That's right. What a joke. How is this possible? It must be a lie made up by Uncle Demon Fox. Even the dead Yondaime Sama is not spared. This bastard. Noisy sounds echoed from around the Hokage building. The villagers surrounding the Hokage building looked in disbelief, as if they had seen a ghost. The 4th Hokage was a hero who sacrificed himself to save the village. That night when the Ninetales rioted, it was he who was not afraid of life and death, and used his own life to seal the Ninetales save countless lives. How could such a great ninja be the father of the demon fox? Some villagers looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, hoping that this respected Sandaime Hokage could expose Namikaze Mirai's lies. The demon fox is the son of the 4th Hokage. How could this be true? It must be a lie made up by Uncle Demon Fox. The purpose is to deceive these kind-hearted villagers. However, a scene that shocked them appeared. Sarutobi Hiruzen had a complicated expression, with a hint of indescribable emotion in his grey-brown eyes, and remained silent. Why didn't the Sandaime Sama speak? Isn't this the time to expose Namikaze Mirai's lies? The villagers began to panic. Why did the Hokage Sama they always respected show such an expression? The crowd started to commotion. The bustling noise sounded from the crowd. Soon, another shocking thing was discovered by them. The Enbu around them who originally maintained order, all fell silent. One of the silver-haired Enbu's eyes was quite dim, as if all his strength had been drained away in an instant. This abnormal scene finally calmed down the frantic crowd. How could this happen? Could it be that the demon fox is really? As soon as this thought came up, they couldn't help but shudder. What a joke. If the demon fox is really the son of the 4th Hokage, then who are these people receiving Yondaime Sama's favor and harming his son? Namikaze Mirai looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen indifferently. Hokage Sama, is it time to confess everything? It caused such a large-scale commotion, affecting most of the Konoha village. If Naruto's true identity is not revealed today, there is no way it will end. A dry smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to have aged more than 10 years in an instant. His back was hunched, and his voice was a little hoarse. Have you ever thought about the consequences of making all this public? Minato has made countless enemies in the 3 wars. If Naruto's identity is made public, how many enemies will he suffer? Hokage Sama, I think you still haven't figured it out yet. There was a hint of sarcasm in Namikaze Mirai's tone. He stared straight at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Word by word. As long as I'm here, no one can threaten Naruto. His body trembled. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to have become older, and his wrinkled face was almost drooping in decay. Finally, he sighed. It seems that he accepted this result. He is right. Naruto is the son of the 4th Hokage. The crowd exploded instantly. An uproar that surpassed any previous one echoed in the Hokage building. Namikaze Mirai's previous words only made them feel a little flustered. But now, Sarutobi Hiruzen admits it himself. The meaning is completely different. Naruto, whom they have always called the demon fox, is actually the son of the 4th Hokage, the heroic son who sacrificed his life to save this village. The demon fox is the son of a hero. But why does everyone call him the demon fox? Where did these rumors come from? This is so weird. Many villagers are still confused. Since Naruto is the son of a hero, why is he treated like this? As the son of the 4th Hokage, shouldn't he enjoy the best benefits in the entire village and be raised as the son of a hero? Why? Naruto did it completely the other way around. And, most importantly, Lord Sandaime didn't interfere at all in this process, which is so strange, because Kyuubi, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were filled with bitterness that he had never seen before. At this point, he could only tell the whole truth. Otherwise, these angry villagers might turn their fingers on him. On the night of the Ninetales riot, Minato and Kushina sacrificed their lives to seal the Ninetales into their son, Naruto. This matter is of great concern. If it is leaked rashly, the consequences will be very serious. Therefore, I ordered all information related to this matter to be blocked. Unexpectedly, it turned into a rumor that Naruto is a demon fox. If Minato knew about it underground, he would definitely blame me. Uproar. There was an uproar. The truth is finally revealed. These villagers who learned the truth found it difficult to accept this reality. They kept cursing that the demon fox who killed the Yondaime couple was their only son. They've been bullying the hero's son for so many years. I am the son of the Fourth Hokage, Naruto. Froze in place. It turns out that his biological parents, whom he has never met, are actually the heroes who saved the entire village. The last one carved on Hokage Rock, the 4th generation Hokage who was regarded as a hero by the village. He was never a demon fox, but the son of a hero. His eyes were filled with tears for a moment, and Naruto pursed his lips, trying his best not to cry. Uncle said that men should not cry. But big tears rolled down from his eyes one after another, and he almost became a tearful person. Namikaze Mirai knelt down and gently wiped the tears from his eyes. Don't resent your parents. They are the most loving people in the world. It was only because of the crisis that they had to make that choice. No, I don't resent them. Naruto wiped the tears from his face. I'm happy. I'm not the bastard they call me. I have parents who are heroes who saved the village. I just want to meet them. I really want to meet them. The crowd fell into silence. Someone silently wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes. Some people clenched their fists in self-blame. Namikaze Mirai stood up, turned his head, and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen. The Sandaime. How should we judge the guilt of allowing the son of a hero to be bullied by the village? Guilt. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression suddenly turned ugly. What's the meaning? Namikaze Mirai directly targeted him. As the son of a hero, Naruto should have received the best education and the best treatment, but he didn't get any of these. Instead, he has been suffering unwarranted bullying. You, the Sandaime Hokage, don't you intend to take responsibility for this? The moment Namikaze Mirai's voice fell, noisy discussions immediately sounded around. The Hokage does need to bear some responsibility for Naruto's matter. Yes. Human hearts are made of flesh. If Hokage-sama had announced that Naruto was the 4th generation son from the beginning, how could we have treated him like that? The villagers began to blame each other, and their feelings of self-blame for knowing Naruto's identity seemed to find an outlet. Sarutobi Hiruzen's teeth trembled when he heard this, and the Enbu around him also looked at each other with shock. How do you want to make up for it? He took a deep breath. The situation was overwhelming, and it was no longer his choice. Namikaze Mirai smiled lightly. I remember that the inheritance left by my brother Minato seems to have been misappropriated by you. That part of the property is barely worth 1 billion taels. As soon as he finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately became anxious. How can there be so much property left by Minato? Don't let the lion open his mouth. Namikaze Mirai's face turned cold. So my brother's inheritance was really swallowed up by you. Sarutobi Hiruzen came back to his senses, noticed the strange looks in the surrounding villagers' eyes, and felt a thump in his heart. He was hooked. The property Minato left behind was used to rebuild the village and compensate the families of the ninjas who died that night. Not a single cent went into my pocket, and it was definitely not as much as 1 billion taels. Sarutobi's tone softened, and his calm tone made it impossible to see any flaws. He is worthy of being a political master, and his rhetoric is watertight. Namikaze Mirai had a sneer on his lips. 500 million taels as compensation for Naruto. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked ugly. In the future, do you know how much 500 million taels will be? How can I come up with such a large amount of money? Joke. The entire annual budget of Konoha is only about 1 billion. Namikaze will spend half of it in one sentence in the future. Isn't it possible that the pain Naruto suffered and the Minato couple's inheritance are not even worth 500 million taels? If You can't take it out. The Sarutobi clan can't take it out. Clenching his teeth slightly, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Namikaze Mirai, and there seemed to be fire rising in his eyes. He remembered Namikaze Mirai's declaration in the Hokage room when he first returned to the village. I will get back every cent of Minato's inheritance point. If the Sarutobi clan really paid 500 million taels to compensate Naruto, I'm afraid many clan members would have to live in a pinch point. But the current situation is no longer a choice for him. I will send someone to send you the compensation. Remember, this is for Naruto. He took a deep breath, and although his tone was calm, there was a hint of fire in his eyes. But Namikaze Mirai's eyes were quite dull, as if to say, this is just the beginning. Chapter 25 Naruto, Uncle will take you to meet your parents. Naruto's identity as the fourth generation surviving son was confirmed by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Since that day, the village has fallen into an eerie silence. The villagers who usually scolded the demon fox casually suddenly became uncomfortably quiet. The word demon fox seemed to have become a taboo, completely disappearing from Konoha. In the streets and alleys, no one cursed the demon fox anymore. In some cases, there are only complicated and silent villagers corresponding. Naruto also hadn't appeared in the village for a long time. It seemed as if he also disappeared along with the words demon fox. Outside the door, Namikaze Mirai knocked cautiously. Naruto, let's go out to eat. If you don't eat, the food will get cold. There was silence in the room for a moment, and then a weak voice sounded. Uncle, I'm not hungry. I'll go out to eat later. Namikaze Mirai helplessly raised his forehead. You have already said 3 times that you will eat it later. This can't go on like this. Naruto is becoming more and more closed off. Namikaze Mirai rubbed his chin with a headache. I thought that exposing Naruto's identity would help him get out of the haze and no longer be bullied by the villagers unexpectedly. The villagers stopped bullying. Naruto is becoming more and more autistic. This can't go on like this. Knowing his true identity, he is the son of the Fourth Hokage who saved the entire village. Naruto's longing for them had reached an extremely high level. Something had to be done. Namikaze Mirai's eyes became serious. He pushed open the door and walked in directly. Uncle Naruto curled up on the bed and wrapped his body with a quilt. When he saw Namikaze Mirai coming in, he raised his demise. It was as if the entire person's soul had been drained out. Naruto, do you want to meet them? Namikaze Mirai sat on the bedside, smiling and stroking Naruto's blonde hair. Meet them. Naruto's dry lips moved, and he raised his head, with a hint of hope in his blue eyes. Of course he knew who they were. That Namikaze Mirai was talking about. His parents, the Fourth Hokage and his wife. These days, the reason why he has been locking himself in his room is because it is difficult to accept this reality. The rumored Yondaime couple, the heroes who saved the village, sealed the monsters that plagued the village in their children. As a result, he was bullied by the entire village and left alone. Naruto wanted to meet them. He wanted to know. Why would your parents make such a choice? Is it because in their eyes, the village is more important than themselves? Uncle, if possible, I really want to see them, even just for a glimpse. Naruto looked hopefully at the future of Namikaze. Then, those blue eyes dimmed again. How is this possible? They have all been dead for so long. Don't be discouraged. Uncle has a solution. Namikaze Maku's eyes turned into crescents when he smiled. Huh? Is that kind of thing really possible? Naruto opened his mouth in surprise. Don't worry. When did Uncle lie to you? Namikaze Mirai turned his gaze to Naruto's belly. If he guessed correctly, his brother definitely did not seal the 9 tails into Naruto's body that easily. Since Naruto is to become the new Jinchuriki, in Minato's eyes, Naruto must inherit the power of the 9 tails. Even I was quite afraid of this violent power, not to mention the young Naruto. Based on his understanding of Minato, he must have left a backup plan to deal with unexpected events. As long as that layer of backhand is stimulated, Naruto might be able to see the Minato couple. Naruto, relax. Uncle is going to take you to a brand new place. Don't be surprised by what happens next. Namikaze Mirai stroked Naruto's hair curled up in the quilt, his eyes full of tenderness. Naruto nodded vigorously. As long as he can see his parents, He is willing to do anything. Point the next second. Bar. A blue arc of electricity flashed through Naruto's hair. Naruto's mind sank and he fainted. There is no other way. At Naruto's current age, the only way to enter the sealed space is to make him unconscious. Namikaze Mirai looked at the fainting Naruto with some distress at this time. Naruto should not have been in contact with the nine tails in his body. Point. If you want to let his consciousness enter the sealed space, you can only make him fall into a deep coma. Point. After doing all this, Namikaze Mirai's eyes stayed on Naruto's belly, and his eyes suddenly became serious. The next step is to let yourself in. Lifting the clothes on Naruto's abdomen, Namikaze Mirai placed his palm on the black bag with seal. Point. In the dark and damp space, Naruto opened his eyes drowsily and glanced around. Where is this place? How did I get here? The dark space that he had never seen before seemed to have no end at all. There was a shallow layer of water on the ground, and ripples were spreading from around his body. Is this what Uncle said? Naruto's blue eyes suddenly lit up. Point. The uncle said that after going to that place, he would be able to see his parents. It should be right here. However, it doesn't look like there are people here, right? Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Point. Is it possible that after his parents died, they lived in a place like this? Suddenly, a warm palm rested on his shoulder. Don't worry, Uncle will definitely let you see them. Uncle. Naruto turned around and saw that familiar smiling face. You came in too? Certainly. Namikaze Mirai smiled and said, since Uncle said he wanted Naruto to see them, he will definitely do it. He narrowed his eyes slightly and stopped at the huge iron door in the distance. There was a sealing talisman on the door lock. Point. If he guessed correctly. Point. The backup plan left by Minato was only activated when the Nine Tails chakra rioted. Point. The purpose was to help Naruto suppress the rioting Kyuubi. Point. In this case, it is very simple to trigger it. Point. Behind the sealed door, a pair of huge, demonic eyes slowly raised, as if sensing some kind of threat. They rested on Namikaze Mirai's body. It's you, Kyuubi's pupils trembled. Point. Namikaze Mirai actually came here. He has never had a good impression of this guy. Although he is Minato's younger brother, his temper is much more domineering than Minato's, and he often hangs out with Kushina to study his own power. The unbearable past came flooding back in an instant. Point. Kyuubi gritted his teeth in humiliation. Point. Just as he was about to say something, Namikaze Mirai grinned. Kyuubi, let me try your strength. Boom. In Naruto's shocked and dull eyes, he saw a blue lightning arc flash past, and Namikaze Mirai's body was like a flash of light, instantly appearing on the head of Kyuubi, and struck with a punch. Kyuubi instantly fell down, accompanied by a teeth-breaking crunching sound. Point. The face is distorted, the teeth are broken. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.